A man on the bridge screams in astonishment at the scene unfolding. A student in a school uniform is standing on the edge of a bridge. She looks down with a calm and curious expression. She thinks to herself, the weather is too nice to die today. To the crowd watching her she retorts, who said anything about dying? Suddenly, her eyes widen in surprise at something she sees in the water. The people on the bridge shout, pointing at a giant object approaching, "It's drifting." Another person asks, shocked, "Is there even a person inside that?" The girl leans over, observing the source of the commotion. From her point of view, a giant iceberg emerges from the water right below her. The immense block of ice floats under the bridge. Inside the ice, a human silhouette can be seen. The figure is revealed, the warrior Chok Ryujam perfectly preserved in the ice. The scene changes to a flashback, showing Ryujam on top of a cliff. He was cornered at the edge of a waterfall. His mission was to protect his lady at all costs. A group of assassins jumps out to attack them. Ryujam enters combat to defend her. One of the assassins glares at him furiously. Despite being pierced by several swords, Ryujam continues fighting. The ground is covered with the bodies of the enemies he has defeated. He delivers a powerful circular blow with his sword. Ryujam remains standing, determined to protect his lady. He breathes heavily, exhausted from the incessant battle. With a powerful blow, he continues to fight. His strength is such that he cuts down the trees around him. He eliminates another wave of assassins with a single movement. The lady he is protecting watches him with concern. After the long battle, the two are alone in the middle of a field of bodies. The final enemy, Okon, appears and praises his resistance. "I'm really impressed." Ryujam, already weakened by poison, raises his sword for the final confrontation. Okon observes his opponent with a calculating look. Dark veins show the poison spreading through Ryujam's hand. His lady cries as she sees him in such a state. With a look of pure determination, Ryujam prepares to fight. The two warriors face each other in a mortal combat. Okon manages to wound Ryujam severely during the fight. Even wounded, Ryujam does not back down. His lady is thrown to the side in the middle of the battle. In a desperate act, Ryujam grabs Okon and throws himself off the cliff with him. Okon's hat falls off, revealing his face. Okon's face is seen for the first time as they fall. Ryujam holds him tight, ensuring that they both fall together. Okon exchanges his last words with Ryujam during the fall. The two adversaries plummet towards the waterfall. Their bodies plunge violently into the icy waters. Back in the present, director Young Sang-young and his team analyze the rescued body. The director observes the situation with seriousness. Ryujam is on a laboratory stretcher, completely immobilized by restraints. The director and his assistant discuss the man from the past. Scientists monitor Ryujam's vital signs in a control room. The ancient warrior remains unconscious. The assistant smiles, considering Ryujam a valuable gift from their ancestors. The director leaves, leaving his assistant on watch. Immediately, Ryujam awakens and breaks all the restraints, surprising the assistant. The scene moves to the bustling modern city. A couple strolls in a sports car. They drive at high speed through the streets. Pedestrians wait at the light, including the girl from the bridge. Ryujam, now free, runs down the road, overtaking the sports car with ease. He runs with superhuman speed. His speed makes the car seem slow in comparison. His sudden passage causes an accident with the sports car. He continues running, leaving a trail of chaos and traffic. The girl from the bridge and other people film the scene, in disbelief. Ryujam runs past confused pedestrians. He looks around, trying to understand the bizarre environment. The city's skyscrapers are completely foreign to him. His gaze reflects his total confusion. He remembers his duty to protect his lady. His run is interrupted by a barricade of police cars. The police isolate the area and try to control the crowd. Two police officers prepare to approach him. They approach Ryujam, who is standing and lost in thought. He remembers his archenemy Okon and the illusionist Yununhai. A police officer orders him not to resist, but Ryujam is convinced that he is in an illusion. He decides he needs to find a way to wake up. The police officers grab him to arrest him. He believes that his old enemies are responsible for this reality. He has a vision of Yununhai. Ryujam affirms to himself that he needs to find the key to break this illusion. With a simple movement, he throws the police officers away. One of the police officers fires a stun gun at him. Ryujam turns and holds the electric darts with his fingers. He stares at the darts, indifferent to the electricity. Several other police officers shoot at him, and his body reacts to the electric shocks. The police officers believe they have managed to neutralize him. Effortlessly, Ryujam simply holds the wires. He pulls the stun guns from the police officers' hands with force. He prepares to use the weapons against them. Ryujam uses the stun guns to knock down the police officers. The crowd watches the scene, completely shocked. He continues to defeat the police officers with ease. More reinforcements arrive in black cars. To end the chase, he punches the ground with all his strength. The shockwave throws the cars into the air. He then jumps into the sky to escape. A police officer, stunned, questions whether he is human. Director Jiang Minwoo shouts on the phone, furious with his team's ineffectiveness. In the destroyed laboratory, Jang Sungyang reports the failure of the operation. The director continues to express his frustration. Jang Sungyang agrees that normal forces are useless against that man. Ryujam lands on top of a tall building. In a car, an officer watches the news about the chaos caused by Ryujam. The director listens to the report over the phone. Sitting in the back seat, the president listens to the conversation. The president takes responsibility, confident that modern weaponry will solve the problem. A massive military force, including tanks, is mobilized to contain the threat. Military helicopters fly over the area. Ryujam tears off the rest of his containment suit and faces the helicopters. He is barefoot on the edge of the helipad. He finds himself surrounded by heavily armed special forces. Calmly, he picks up the handle of a broom to use as a weapon. He prepares for the confrontation with his improvised weapon. His face shows a grim determination. A soldier fires near his feet as a warning. The soldier mocks him, saying, "An ancient martial artist like you is powerless." He is convinced that Ryujam has no chance against firearms. The other soldiers point their weapons, ready to fire. Ryujam assumes a combat stance with the broom. The soldier smiles, finding the scene ridiculous. Ryujam focuses his energy on the broom handle. In his mind, the broom becomes his ancient and powerful sword. The soldier prepares to give the order to fire. His expression changes as he prepares to give the final command. His finger is on the trigger. In the last second, an order arrives by radio to cease fire. A helicopter approaches to land on the helipad. Ryujam turns to face the newcomer. The helicopter lands and its doors open. The president of the nation, Kang Jikan, exits the aircraft. His security team follows him, on high alert. The president walks alone towards Ryujam. He approaches in a calm and diplomatic manner. Ryujam observes him, recognizing his position of authority. He analyzes the approaching man. The president smiles and apologizes for the way they treated him. He explains to Ryujam that he is in the future and extends his hand for a handshake. Ryujam stares at the outstretched hand, motionless. The special forces watch the scene with extreme tension. In a sudden movement, Ryujam attacks the president with the broom handle. The president's face contorts in shock at the unexpected attack. Ryujam attacks, believing that the king of this illusion is the key to his freedom. The president survives the attack, his face contorted in pure shock and terror. Ryujam analyzes the situation and realizes that the pain of the confrontation was too real to be an illusion. Despite his doubt, he keeps the president under pressure, still suspicious. The bodyguards react immediately, aiming their weapons directly at Ryujam's head. The special forces on the roof also prepare to shoot, surrounding him completely. With a hand gesture, the president signals everyone to stop. He shouts a clear and desperate order for his troops to cease fire. The president, panting, insists that no one shoot, trying to control the situation. Ryujam finally accepts the truth. He is not in an illusion but in the future. He calms down, processing the shocking reality of his new life. Acceptance brings a feeling of desolation, as he realizes he is completely alone. He remembers Hai, the illusionist he initially blamed for everything. The president tries to communicate amidst the strong wind. "What did you say? I couldn't hear." Ryujam faces the future, resigned to his situation. The scene changes to a secret hideout, where the president takes Ryujam for a conversation. A banquet is served, with dishes prepared to please the warrior from the past. In a secure room, Ryujam and the president sit at the table, surrounded by guards. Ryujam remains silent, distrustful, watching the modern leader. The president explains that the place is safe and invites him to eat, trying to gain his trust. To prove that the food is not poisoned, the president serves himself first. He takes the first bite, showing that his intentions are peaceful. While eating, he asks Ryujam if he finally believes he is in the future. The president is pleased to realize that Ryujam is beginning to accept reality. Ryujam understands that he survived only because of the advanced medical technology of this new era. He remembers his final moments, the poison spreading through his body and the enemy blades. He touches his shoulder, remembering the wounds that should have killed him. The memory of his fallen enemies haunts him, as he is the only one left. The president continues his speech, offering full support for Ryujam to adapt to modern life. In exchange for his help, he asks for Ryujam's cooperation on an important matter. He prepares to explain the nature of his request, maintaining seriousness. Ryujam listens attentively, trying to understand the president's intentions. Assistants bring a television to show Ryujam the recent news. A reporter on the screen reports the sightings of the Superman who caused chaos in the city. A news anchor presents the cover story created by the government to explain the events. The news shows civilians filming Ryujam and claims that it was all just a movie recording. To give credibility to the hoax, a photo of an alleged film crew is displayed. Ryujam watches the forged news, understanding the government's attempt to keep his secret. The president explains that Ryujam's existence needs to be kept secret to avoid panic. He reveals that Ryujam is the key to scientific advances that other nations have failed to achieve. He talks about the potential of studying his body to revolutionize medicine. Flags of various nations are shown, symbolizing the global race for cryogenics technology. An image of a failed thawing attempt illustrates Ryujam's unique importance. The president formally asks Ryujam to cooperate with them, for the good of the country and humanity. The president's guards watch the scene with tension, awaiting the warrior's response. Ryujam stands up and refuses the offer with a decisive no, as he does not wish to live in this era. He turns and walks towards the exit, leaving the president and his men surprised. He grabs the doorknob, determined to leave on his own. Ignoring the president's appeals, he opens the door to leave. His path is blocked by two huge security guards. Seeing that diplomacy has failed, the president decides to resort to Plan B. He gives a subtle signal for his men to use force. Immediately, a squad armed with tranquilizer rifles surrounds Ryujam. They fire a barrage of sedative darts at him. Ryujam's back is hit by multiple darts. An officer smiles, confident that the sedative, strong enough to knock down an elephant, will be effective. The officer's expression changes to total shock upon seeing that the darts have no effect. Ryujam projects an aura of energy that prevents the darts from piercing his skin. His energy barrier repels the tranquilizer needles. The darts fall to the ground, completely ineffective. Ryujam focuses his inner energy, preparing to react. He releases a powerful shockwave that throws all the guards away. The president and his team watch, stunned, at the immense display of power. Ryujam stares at them, making it clear that he cannot be contained by conventional means. The president, frustrated but not defeated, prepares for a new attempt. A new group of guards approaches, this time armed with electric batons. They surround him, ready for a coordinated attack to subdue him. A guard attacks, but Ryujam dodges with superhuman speed. The guard is confused, as his target has disappeared before his eyes. Another officer tries to hit him, but only hits a residual image he left behind. He moves like a blur among them, becoming an impossible target to hit. His speed creates multiple afterimages, completely confusing the attackers. The guards find themselves attacking only speed illusions, unable to touch him. An officer stares at him, realizing the futility of their efforts. Without even attacking, Ryujam simply walks away from his opponents. The guards stand paralyzed, watching him leave without being able to do anything. He leaves the complex behind, unharmed and free. The president, receiving the news of the failure, is frustrated at having been defeated by a single man. He concludes that brute force is useless and that he needs to find a different approach. An advisor interrupts him, informing him that there is urgent news. An agent runs in, bringing unexpected information that shocks his superior. The agent reports that they have located Ryujam in a surprising place. Ryujam is on top of the tallest building in the city, planning to take his own life. He watches a helicopter approach, indifferent to the surveillance. The authorities watch, believing he is about to commit suicide. Feeling he has no purpose anymore, Ryujam throws himself off the top of the building. He falls towards death, accepting his end in this strange new world. During the fall, he remembers the lady to whom he dedicated his life to protect. Her image fades, a symbol of his failure to fulfill his duty. He remembers his oath as a bodyguard, the only reason for his existence. He remembers the face of Okon, his sworn archenemy. The memory of the final battle rekindles a fire within him. He relives the moment when he threw himself off the cliff with Okon, hoping they would both die. As he plunges into the void, the feeling of uselessness consumes him. He closes his eyes, prepared for the final impact. Suddenly, as he passes a giant billboard, a familiar face shocks him. His eyes open violently, filled with disbelief and fury. The face on the billboard is that of Okon, apparently alive and well as a celebrity. The revelation that his enemy survived gives Ryujam a new and powerful purpose: revenge. He interrupts his fall and lands hard, facing the image of Okon with a new reason to live. In a flashback, Ryujam remembers carrying his lady amidst the destruction of their land. The memory of his failure to protect her brings him to tears. He relives the bloody battles he fought to defend her. His enemies, the illusionist Yun Unhai and the masked Okon, come to his mind. Okon watched the chaos from atop a burning rooftop, orchestrating the destruction. Ryujam's determined face during combat is remembered. The image of Okon's menacing mask remains in his memory. He recalls the moment his enemy's face was revealed during the final fall. Back in the present, Ryujam throws himself from the top of a skyscraper, seeking to end his life. He plummets towards the city lights below. Feeling purposeless, he accepts his end. In the last second, upon seeing Okon's face on a billboard, Ryujam uses his energy to stop his fall. With a powerful wave of Kai, he floats in the air, interrupting his descent. He lands safely on the roof of a building. A pedestrian, shocked, films the superhuman landing with his cell phone. Ryujam stares at the billboard displaying his old enemy, now a celebrity named Janho. The discovery that his adversary is alive gives him a new purpose: revenge. In the presidential palace, President Jikhin shouts furiously upon being informed of Ryujam's disappearance. His advisors report that, according to a witness, he was asking about the actor Yanwoo. The president reacts with shock and anger to the news. He is frustrated that he cannot control the situation. The authorities continue the search, now focused on his new obsession. Ryujam walks through the city streets in search of information about his target. He discovers that Yanwoo, Okyun's new identity, is a world-famous actor. Yanwoo is shown as a charismatic celebrity, waving on the red carpet. He is seen posing with important figures in the film industry. His public image is that of an elegant and successful man. His fame is so great that it positively influences the country's economy. Ryujam approaches a student and asks directly how he can find Yanwoo. He looks at the young man with an intimidating seriousness. The warrior and the student stand before a huge poster of the actor. Ryujam suspects that Yanwoo is Okyun in disguise, remembering his appearance from the past. The student observes the strange man, confused by his request. A birthday advertisement shows Yanwoo's smiling face. Ryujam approaches a digital panel displaying the image of his enemy. Losing patience, he punches the screen, demanding answers from the student. He orders the young man to tell him where to find the actor immediately. The student, thinking Ryujam is a dangerous madman, is terrified. His eyes widen with pure terror. The impact of Ryujam's punch shatters all the glass and screens around. The student recoils, shocked by the demonstration of strength. Paralyzed with fear, the young man watches the warrior's fury. Under pressure, the student reveals that Yanwoo is abroad, in the United States. The scene shifts to New York, where Yanwoo is working. He is in a luxurious restaurant, filming a movie scene. Yanwoo is sitting at the table, focused on his acting. He eats a piece of meat, following the script of the scene. As part of the scene, his American co-star punches him in the face. The actor stares at him, maintaining his character. He continues his speech with intensity. The film crew attentively follows the recording. The director, dissatisfied, complains that Yanwoo's performance needs more realism. From a superior view, the team watches the scene unfold. Yanwoo bows, apologizing for his performance. With his face already bruised, he asks to redo the scene and take another punch. Unexpectedly, the chain of a heavy chandelier on the ceiling breaks. The chandelier plummets towards Yanwoo's co-star. The actor looks up, frozen in fear. In a quick reflex, Yanwoo lunges to save his colleague from the impact. He pushes the actor away from danger, an instant before the chandelier falls. The team runs in panic towards the scene of the accident. Yanwoo rises from the rubble, while his colleague is safe on the ground. Despite being injured, he reassures everyone, saying he is fine. His arm is bandaged due to injuries sustained in the accident. In the hospital, he talks to his agent about the incident. His room is filled with gifts from fans for his heroic act. He squeezes his bandaged arm thoughtfully. His agent brings him unexpected and shocking news. The agent looks nervous and sweaty when giving the news. Yanwoo reacts with total astonishment to the information received. The scene returns to the Blue House, the presidential residence of Korea. President Jikin says goodbye to his team at the end of the day. He walks down a corridor, believing he is alone. Suddenly, he is startled to see that he is not alone. Ryujam was waiting for him silently, leaning against the wall. The warrior managed to cross the sophisticated laser security system undetected. The president stares at Ryujam, remembering the terror of the previous encounter. Already in his office, the president listens to Ryujam's proposal. His expression is one of shock and apprehension. Ryujam had waited patiently outside his office. Ryujam appears before the president, stating that he accepts the offer of cooperation. He hands over a photo of Yanwoo. He sets his only condition: the president must arrange a meeting between him and Yanwoo. In exchange for the much-desired cooperation, the president agrees immediately. Ryujam comments that shaking hands as a sign of trust is a strange custom. The two seal the agreement with a handshake. The president and Ryujam travel to meet the actor. The president observes Ryujam, aware of the tension of the mission. They enter the room where Yanwoo is recovering. Yanwoo and his team are surprised by the president's unexpected visit. Ryujam stares at Yanwoo intensely, looking for any trace of Okon. Yanwoo smiles friendly at the visitors. The president introduces them formally. Yanwoo looks at the mysterious man brought by the president. Ryujam extends his hand for a greeting. Yanwoo is shocked to recognize Ryujam from the news about the Superman. The two shake hands for the first time. The president suggests they sit down for a more comfortable conversation. During the greeting, Ryujam uses overwhelming force to test Yanwoo. He is disappointed not to feel any emanation of Kai or power from the actor. Convinced that he was wrong, Ryujam steps away and apologizes for the intrusion. He feels completely desolate, believing he is alone in this new world. After the president withdraws, the two are left alone to talk. The president apologizes, saying he needs to use the restroom to give them privacy. His bodyguards remain outside, ready for any trouble. Alone, Yanwoo offers Ryujam a cup of tea. Ryujam sits down, visibly depressed by his apparent failure. He closes his eyes, resigned to the idea that this man is just a lookalike. He holds the cup of tea that was offered to him. He opens his eyes, still immersed in his dark thoughts. Breaking the silence, Yanwoo leans in and whispers, revealing that he knows Ryujam's name and expressing shock that he is alive. Yanwoo's smile becomes sinister, confirming that he is, in fact, the enemy Ryujam was looking for. The imposter posing as Okon provokes Ryujam with enigmatic answers. He maintains a calm and mocking look. The tension increases between the two at the table. Ryujam stares at him, furious with the evasion. The false Okon calmly explains that they are inside an illusion barrier, preventing the outside world from seeing the fight. Ryujam realizes that the upcoming battle will be invisible to others. The imposter continues to provoke him, drinking his tea. The tense conversation continues in the isolated room. Ryujam listens, containing his anger. The false Okon smiles, confident in his position. Ryujam demands to know what happened to his lady. The stalemate between the two warriors persists. The imposter finishes his drink, preparing for the inevitable violence. His smile becomes sinister, confirming Ryujam's suspicions. Fed up with the provocations, Ryujam releases his energy, destroying the table and throwing the imposter against the wall. The imposter is caught off guard by the explosion of power. He is violently thrown against the wall with the impact. Ryujam's energy shines in his hand, ready for combat. He gets up, determined to end this. His gaze is focused and deadly. The imposter rises from the rubble, unharmed. He smiles, believing that Ryujam is not at full strength, and challenges him to fight. He positions himself in front of the destroyed wall, ready to attack. The imposter advances at high speed against Ryujam. His expression is of pure combat intent. Ryujam reveals a pine cone and states that he has discovered the truth. He crushes the pine cone in his hand, declaring that his opponent is not Okon. With the farce exposed, the imposter's disguise begins to unravel. The figure transforms, revealing her true identity, the illusionist Janho. Ryujam stares at her, shocked to see her. He remembers the moment when he defeated her and saw her fall to her death in the past. His memory revives the illusionist's fatal fall. Janho, now in her real form, confronts him with a smile. She explains that the real Okon is busy with other matters. She stares at him, underestimating his current strength. Janho performs a jutsu with her hands. Multiple clones of herself appear to surround Ryujam. Confident in her numerical superiority, she prepares to attack. Ryujam reacts instantly, attacking one of the clones. He knocks down a clone with ease, showing that numbers don't matter. With fury, he tells her to stop talking. The effort of the battle begins to weigh on Ryujam, who has not yet fully recovered. He continues to fight against the copies. With a single powerful blow, Ryujam destroys all of Unhai's clones at once. The clones dissolve, leaving the real Unhai alone and defeated. She falls to the ground, helpless and shocked by the demonstration of power. Ryujam approaches her, questioning how she survived. He clearly remembers killing her. Unhai says that, upon dying, she woke up in the future. She looks at Ryujam with a mixture of anger and fear. In a flashback, it is shown that Okon found her and helped her adapt to this new era. Desperate Unhai attempts one last surprise attack. She advances with a sharp hairpin, aiming for Ryujam's eye. He stops her with ease, stopping the attack inches from his face. With a heavy blow, he throws her away, ending the fight. Unhai falls to the ground, completely unable to continue. Ryujam walks up to her, looking at her with disdain. He reminds her of how pathetic she looks. Ryujam questions her about her body, suspecting something is wrong. Unhai stares at him, sweating with fear. He tears her blouse, revealing rotten and decaying flesh on her shoulder. Ryujam points to the wound, explaining the truth. He reveals that Okon never saved her. He only used her as a disposable tool with a spell that keeps her alive. Unhai screams in denial and fury at the revelation. Unhai curses him, refusing to believe that she is just a puppet. The harsh reality of her situation leaves her in shock. In her mind, she sees herself surrounded by death, realizing that her fate is sealed. Terror takes over her as she understands that she is dying slowly. Ryujam kneels down and offers a way out. He infuses his own Kai into her body, showing that the curse can be reversed. The rotten flesh begins to heal under the effect of his energy, proving that he was right. He explains that only he or Okon can use this technique. Ryujam gives her a choice: ally with him to live or remain loyal to Okon and die. Unhai faces her decision, life or death. She grabs the staff he offers. With determination in her eyes, she makes her choice. She holds the staff firmly. Unhai kneels before Ryujam, choosing life and asking for his orders. Ryujam accepts her loyalty, having gained a new and crucial ally. The former enemies now face each other as master and servant. Outside the conference room, President Jikhin and his men listen to the commotion. Jikhin looks at the door, worried about what's happening inside. One of the actors, who was posing as Yanwu, runs out of the room in a panic. He grabs the president desperately, warning him about the danger Ryujam poses. The president is shocked by the warning and the man's terrified state. Ryujam is seen from the back in the middle of the completely destroyed room. The president and his team enter and find the place in ruins, with Ryujam at the center of it all. Ryujam remains calm despite the destruction he caused. Jikhin and his men stare at the warrior, stunned by the scene. Unhai, disguised, and another team member look at Ryujam with fear and confusion. Ryujam crouches near a broken teacup on the floor. He apologizes for the mess, saying he was just testing some things. He maintains a serious expression while explaining his actions. In a flashback, a young Ryujam kneels before his master. The young man listens attentively to his superior's lessons. The master explains that a bodyguard's duty is to protect others with their own life. The elder emphasizes that their lives don't matter as much as the person they protect. He concludes that by living to protect, they become extraordinarily strong and determined. Back in the present, Ryujam wakes up in a government laboratory. Medical monitors record his unstable vital signs. The researchers approach, worried, and ask if he is okay. Ryujam sits up, assuring the scientists that everything is fine. He states that he needs to continue the research to fulfill a promise. He gets dressed, determined to proceed with his plans. Unhai waits for Ryujam at a cafe. She stares at him with a serious expression as he approaches. Ryujam, wearing a hood to disguise himself, meets with her. He sits down at the table to begin the conversation. Unhai crosses her arms, waiting for him to speak. Ryujam begins to question her about Okon's history. He explains that Okon was a member of the family he was assigned to protect, and that everyone believed he had died in an incident. In a flashback, the young Okon is remembered. Ryujam recalls that Okon faked his death to plan a rebellion. The image of Okon merges with that of his mask, symbolizing his betrayal. Unhai drinks her tea and says that Okon is a man of many secrets and that she was just following orders. Ryujam asks if anyone else from the past has come to the future. Unhai reveals that, as far as she knows, only the three of them are in this era. Ryujam looks to the side, suddenly shocked by something he sees. Unhai turns, asking what's wrong. Ryujam stops her from looking, keeping his focus on what he saw. His eyes widen in disbelief and fury. Outside the cafe, the real Okon watches them from a distance. A member of Okon's team asks what he is looking at. Okon keeps his gaze fixed on the scene. He smiles, realizing that Ryujam's arrival has made the world more interesting. Ryujam gets up abruptly and tells Unhai that the conversation was useless. He declares that he has a new condition for their cooperation, leaving her confused. He remembers the image of his lady, realizing that revenge has blinded him to what really mattered. He clenches his fist with a new determination. He recalls the figure of his lady in a field. Unhai reacts in astonishment, shouting that he is crazy for believing that the lady survived. Ryujam stares at her, reaffirming his belief. He remembers his oath as a bodyguard. He reaffirms that his only duty is to protect the person he was assigned to. Determined, he decides that he will find his lady first. Unhai says it's impossible, as she doesn't even remember the woman's face. Ryujam grabs a pen quickly. He begins to draw his lady's face from memory, impressing Unhai with his confidence. He reveals a terribly made stick figure drawing, shattering all expectations. The scene changes to a student, Choi Si-yoon, walking in the rain. Her friend runs up to her, complaining about being left behind. The two are in front of an elite school. Si-yoon is portrayed as a celebrity at school, loved by many fans. Her friend warns her to be careful, as it is dangerous to walk alone. The two walk together under their umbrellas. Si-yoon smiles, seemingly unconcerned. They continue their way down the rainy street. From an alley, Ryujam and Unhai watch them. Unhai comments on the convenience of modern technology for tracking people. Ryujam tells her to be quiet so they can observe. He maintains a focused and serious look on his target. Their umbrella lies fallen on the ground as they prepare to act. Two strange men approach the girls, who ask in fright what they want. The men reveal themselves to be obsessive fans, asking for a hug for Si-yoon. Si-yoon is terrified by their approach, while her friend looks furious. The fans get even closer, with disturbing expressions. From the rooftop, Ryujam and Unhai prepare to intervene. Ryujam observes the scene, ready to jump. In a flashback, Ryujam's lady is described as innocent and fragile. She is shown holding a dandelion. The memory shows a moment of crying and fragility. Ryujam watched her as she was treated by doctors, always sick. Back in the present, Ryujam jumps off the roof and yells for the men to get away. One of the fans tries to grab Si-yoon, saying he needs to hug her. Unhai observes Si-yoon's friend, who turns out to be their real target. A memory shows the lady not as weak, but as a strong leader who disciplined others. Si-yoon's friend kicks the aggressor, revealing her strength and that she is Ryujam's true lady. The image of the student overlaps with that of her past life, confirming her identity. Ryujam approaches her in the rain. The two girls stare at him, surprised. The young woman he was looking for steps forward. Ryujam closes his eyes, feeling the emotion of the reunion. He approaches her, full of confidence. He apologizes for taking so long and offers his coat to protect her from the cold. The young woman prepares to attack. She hits him with a powerful punch to the stomach, catching him by surprise. Ryujam doubles over in pain, completely shocked by her reaction. With a smile, she says it's been a while, but soon reveals that she mistook him for a fan and doesn't remember him. With a smile, the young woman reveals that she mistook him for a fan and doesn't recognize him. Ryujam doubles over in pain, shocked by the blow and the fact that she doesn't remember him. He is devastated to realize that she has no memory of their past together. His expression is one of complete desolation and confusion. Not understanding his reaction, she asks if he is a fan of her friend Si-yoon. The warrior is disturbed, noting that it is not just the memories but her entire behavior that has changed. He realizes that he is facing a completely different person. The young woman stares at him, not understanding the situation. Realizing her mistake, she bows in a formal apology for hitting him. Other students appear to defend the girls, believing that Ryujam is a harasser. The situation becomes tense with the intervention of the classmates. The two girls watch the confusion unfold. The group walks away, leaving Ryujam behind. As she walks away, she looks back with a thoughtful expression. Alone, Ryujam reflects on the painful encounter. His face reveals deep disappointment. The next day, he and Unhai visit what is believed to be the tomb of his former mistress. The two approach the site in silence. They observe the tomb to confirm the facts. Unhai comments that the tomb is simple, probably due to the passage of time. To be sure, they consult a historian linked to the president. Historical records confirm that Ryujam's mistress and her family were killed on the day of the rebellion. One of her belongings, an old mirror found in the tomb, is kept as a relic. Unhai reacts to the confirmation of the death of her former enemy. Devastated by the news, Ryujam punches the ground in fury. He unleashes his frustration and pain in the face of the final proof of his failure. The memory of his final defeat to Okon haunts him. He relives the moment he was overcome by his opponent. In front of the tomb, he feels like a complete failure for not having fulfilled his duty to protect her. The smiling image of his mistress comes to his mind. The pain of loss consumes him entirely. With her death confirmed, his only remaining purpose becomes revenge. He grits his teeth, with hatred for Okon becoming his only reason to live. Unhai observes his reaction silently. She then remembers the young woman, who is identical to the deceased mistress. The scene changes to the young woman, Min-duel, in her part-time job. She seems to be the only employee in a messy office. She finds her boss, Shidiak, sleeping drunk on the couch. She stares at him with disapproval. The man looks exhausted and sloppy. Annoyed by his laziness, she scolds him. He gets up to prepare a ramyun for himself. Meanwhile, an interview with the girl is shown on television. Her boss watches her cook. Min-duel seems focused on her work, despite the environment. Suddenly, Shidiak receives a phone call that makes him euphoric. He celebrates the news he just received. With a smile, he ends the call. He announces to Min-duel that he got a meeting with a big producer, and she reacts with joy. Min-duel arrives at the meeting location, a suspicious-looking restaurant. She enters the establishment, feeling a little uncomfortable. The environment does not seem to be a professional place for a business meeting. The production company executives offer her an alcoholic beverage. The two men stare at her with dubious intentions. She refuses the drink, explaining that she is underage. They insist inappropriately, minimizing the situation. Embarrassed, she agrees to drink a glass of water they offer her. Upon being touched by one of them, she realizes the danger she is in. The man approaches her in a threatening manner. Her eyes widen in fear at the realization. She gets up abruptly, stating that she is not interested in this type of opportunity. The drug mixed in her water begins to take effect, and her vision becomes blurred. The men watch as she loses consciousness. She faints on the floor, a victim of the trap. Immobilized, she understands that she was deceived. The men comment that the drug they put in her drink took effect. It is revealed that her boss, Shidiak, betrayed her out of financial desperation. The executives plan to take advantage of the young woman's dreams for their own gain. Min-dul remains unconscious at their mercy. One of the men calls his superior to report that the mission was a success. The scene changes to the president's residence. Ryujam observes the night, consumed by his only purpose. He looks at the moon, focused on his thoughts of revenge. He intends to destroy everything Okon has built in this new world. His enemy's successes and fame fuel his hatred. His aura of fury and determination is almost palpable. His gaze is fixed on his ultimate goal. Unhai appears to interrupt his thoughts. She teases him, saying she has interesting news for him. Unhai reveals that she investigated the young woman and discovered something shocking. She informs Ryujam that the girl, Min-dul, is a direct descendant of the Min family. Ryujam listens to the revelation, surprised by the information. The young woman he met is, in fact, from the lineage of his former mistress. Unhai adds that the girl is in danger and needs immediate help. Ryujam responds coldly, saying that a descendant is not his problem. He turns to leave, showing complete disinterest. Unhai is shocked and annoyed by his indifference. Alone, Ryujam remembers the promise he made to his mistress, to always be there to protect her. The memory of his mistress and the face of her descendant mix in his mind, leaving him in conflict. In conflict, Ryujam ponders whether or not to save his master's descendant. He checks on Min-dul's condition, who remains unconscious. Elsewhere, Unhai prepares to act after receiving a call. She moves quickly, on a mission to alert Ryujam. Unhai prepares to deliver her urgent message. With agility, she uses her cell phone as she moves through the night. She jumps from a roof, breaking a tile in her momentum. Unhai continues on her way, determined to reach her destination. A note with Min-dul's location is left for Ryujam. Alone, Ryujam reflects on the information he received. The memory of his former master's smile comes to his mind. He remembers their moments together and his promise. The memories of his master fill him with conflicting emotions. He relives the image of her walking away, a symbol of his failure. His promise to protect her echoes in his mind. The image of his master and her descendant merge, sealing his decision. Ryujam's frustration manifests in his room. He sits on the floor, consumed by the pain of his past failure. With a new determination, he decides he needs to act. He closes his eyes, accepting his duty to protect the young woman. Elsewhere, a subordinate bows before his boss. The head of the operation, a man in a suit, observes his employee. With a satisfied smile, he believes the plan is going well. He picks up the phone to make a call. The boss calls Min-dul, probably as part of a trap. One of the kidnappers answers his boss's call. The boss, furious about some unforeseen event, confronts his subordinate over the phone. At the kidnapping site, the boss is angry with how the operation is progressing. His subordinate listens to the reprimand, cowering on the floor. In a fit of rage, the boss kicks the table, blaming his henchman for the mistake. The subordinate wipes the bloodied nose after the assault. Meanwhile, Min-dul, weakened by the drug, tries to escape down a corridor. She leans against the wall, struggling to remain conscious. The young woman continues her desperate attempt to escape. The two kidnappers quickly chase her down the corridor. She stumbles, feeling her strength fading. Her gaze is fixed on the exit, her last hope. With a last effort, she reaches the doorknob. Just as she touches the doorknob, the kidnappers reach her and grab her. One of the men holds her tightly, expressing his discontent. Captured, Min-dul lowers her head, defeated. The leader of the kidnappers at the scene glares at her with irritation. They begin to drag her back into captivity. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, surprising the men. One of them wonders what is causing the tremor. The entire building begins to shake, as if it were about to collapse. Even captured, Min-dul sees the opportunity in the confusion. The door at the end of the corridor opens into the darkness. Ryujam appears in the entrance, his arrival causing the earthquake. In a flashback, Ryujam is seen holding Unhai's note. He reads the message that led him there. His face shows the internal conflict before deciding to intervene. He closes his eyes, accepting his role as protector. Ryujam turns and enters the building for the rescue. He opens the door, ready to face whoever is on the other side. His dark presence looms over the kidnappers. He warns them to be careful. The kidnapper is paralyzed with fear upon seeing him. Terror takes over the man as he faces Ryujam's fury. With a single movement, Ryujam throws one of the kidnappers. The man is thrown violently against the wall, defeated instantly. The second kidnapper watches the scene, terrified. Ryujam positions himself to protect Min-Duel. His fury is evident as he faces the remaining enemy. His eyes gleam with a rage that he himself does not understand. Terrified, the last kidnapper flees desperately. He runs, sweating with fear, trying to escape. The man arrives at the parking lot and tries to start the car to escape. He accelerates, thinking he has escaped. Suddenly, the car stops with a violent jolt. Ryujam appears in front of the vehicle, lifting it off the ground with his bare hands. The car is stopped with brute force. The driver looks ahead, incredulous and defeated. Ryujam approaches the car, making it clear that the escape is over. He drags the kidnapper out of the vehicle. Ryujam interrogates him about what they did to the girl. To intimidate him even more, he pushes the car away with his aura. Min-Duel remains sitting on the floor, still under the effect of the drug. Ryujam demands an antidote, suspecting she has been poisoned. He crushes the man's hand to force him to speak. With a threatening smile, he warns that he will kill him if he lies. The man screams in pain, completely subdued. At that moment, a uniformed security team arrives running. The team leader approaches the injured kidnapper. Ryujam crouches next to Min-Duel, protecting her. The security team surrounds Ryujam and the girl. The team leader demands that Ryujam hand over the young woman, stating that the matter is none of his business. Min-Duel remains asleep, unaware of the tension. Ryujam stares at them, suspicious of their true intentions. He refuses to hand her over, feeling that they are not trustworthy. Ryujam holds Min-Duel in his arms, in a standoff with the security team. He looks at the young woman, accepting his new role as her protector. The kidnapper reports the mission's failure by phone, desperate. He apologizes to his boss, admitting the operation's failure. A security team in suits approaches menacingly. Surrounded, Ryujam holds Min-Duel in his arms and refuses to hand her over. He protects her, facing the new threat with determination. On the phone, the kidnapper hears his superior's fury and is shocked. The security team leader demands that Ryujam hand over the girl. Ryujam remains silent, assessing his opponents. One of the guards prepares to attack. The man advances to take the young woman by force. Ryujam effortlessly blocks the attack with one hand. The guard is thrown back by the force of the impact. In seconds, Ryujam knocks down several members of the team. One of the men falls to the ground, completely defeated. The team leader, furious, calls him a bastard. The leader attacks Ryujam with a powerful kick. The attack is intercepted, and the leader recoils, feeling the impact. Another guard tries to grab Min-Duel. Ryujam firmly stops the aggressor's hand. With an elbow strike, he neutralizes the man. The guard is knocked out instantly. Ryujam remains standing, surrounded by the bodies of the defeated men. He begins to move away from the scene of the confrontation. Ryujam realizes that the team leader has not yet been defeated. He turns to face the last opponent standing. The leader prepares to fight seriously, saying, "Now things have gotten serious." Ryujam looks at him and asks, "Excuse me." In his arms, Min-Duel begins to awaken. Confused, she asks what is happening. Her eyes widen in shock at the scene around her. She has a vision of flames and screams, frightened. The security team regroups, ready to attack together. With a wave of energy, Ryujam throws them into the air. He unleashes his power, defeating all the opponents at once. Min-Duel looks at him, completely astonished by his strength. Ryujam watches her, ensuring she is safe. Back in the office, Min-Dul recovers from the trauma, huddled on a sofa. Her boss, Shideok, watches her, feeling guilty for his betrayal. He closes his eyes, regretting what he did. Min-Dul looks at him, realizing his remorse. Shideok approaches to talk to her. Consumed by anger against the company that deceived them, Shideok swears revenge. Min-Dul stops him, reminding him that they are too weak to fight against a corporation. With his hand, he smashes a glass in a fit of rage. She advises him to let it go, saying it's not worth it. With determination, she says they should focus on thanking whoever saved her. Shideok looks at her, surprised by her maturity. Min-Dul smiles, relieved to be safe. She pushes her boss to talk to Ryujam. Ryujam waits calmly in the office, having a drink. Shideok awkwardly tries to thank Min-Dul's protector. Min-Dul admires him, impressed by his strength and calmness. She approaches him, curious about who he is. Her eyes sparkle with interest. Shideok asks Ryujam about his profession and he replies, "I'm unemployed." Having an idea, Shideok prepares a proposal. He offers Ryujam a job as Min-Dul's manager and protector. Ryujam considers the offer while drinking. At school, Si-yoon congratulates Min-Dul for getting a contract with a large company. Min-Dul explains that the deal didn't work out and asks her friend for help. While talking, they walk through the schoolyard. Si-yoon is happy to help with advice. Si-yoon gladly accepts Min-Dul's request for help. A group of bullies intentionally bumps into Si-yoon. Min-Dul glares at the group angrily, ready to defend her friend. The Ojinil gang provokes them. Si-yoon's bodyguards appear, intimidating the bullies. The gang leader retreats annoyed. Protected by the guards, the two continue on their way. Si-yoon comments that having a reliable manager is essential for security. Min-Dul smiles, thinking she has already found the perfect person for the job. At night, Ryujam reflects on a terrace. Unhai arrives to meet with him. She scolds him for his constant lateness and asks about his personal affairs. Unhai asks why he called her. Ryujam asks about what exactly a celebrity manager does. His gaze is serious and focused. Unhai explains that it's a job similar to that of a bodyguard, taking care of and negotiating for the celebrity. She looks at him, suspicious of his sudden interest. Ryujam reveals that he accepted the job as Min-Dul's manager, to Unhai's shock. Unhai criticizes him for his change in attitude, saying she already expected it. In a spa, the leader of the security team that faced Ryujam is seen. He listens to his subordinates report on the mission's failure. Back on the terrace, Ryujam tells Unhai that the men he faced used Kai. Remembering the humiliation, the security leader punches a wall in anger. The tiled wall shatters with the force of his blow, revealing his own power. Unhai is horrified to learn that there are other Kai users, something Okon said was impossible. The team leader comes out of the water, his body showing great physical strength. He shows an expression of fury, determined to find the mysterious man who defeated him. Shocked by the news, Unhai demands to know if Ryujam is telling the truth about the existence of other Kai users. She confronts him, annoyed, and he questions the reason for her reaction, asking if she is hiding something from him. Ryujam reflects and concludes that he needs to investigate these Kai users to better understand the situation. His gaze reveals his determination to discover the truth that is being hidden from him. Horrified, Unhai remembers Okon stating that the power of Kai no longer existed in this world. The discovery makes her realize that Okon lied, using her as a tool for his own purposes. She recalls her conversation with Okon, in which he explained how the world had changed and science had replaced martial arts. Okon had stated that the modern world was a place where Kai was no longer needed. He told Unhai that, in this new world, technology and science had surpassed the need for Kai. The revelation leaves her with a doubt. If Kai was useless, why did Okon keep her alive for so long? Okon deceived her, claiming that Kai was obsolete, while hiding his true intentions. The next day, the scene changes to the prestigious Yongjin High School, attended by the country's elite. Ryujam sets off on his investigation, jumping from a building to begin his search. Ryujam explains to Unhai his theory that, although Kai exists, the people of this world are not used to it. He decides that his priority is to investigate the mysterious Kai users he has encountered. Ryujam says goodbye to Unhai and jumps off the building to begin his investigation mission. He lands perfectly, ready to walk towards the truth. Ryujam walks through the streets, beginning his search for the truth hidden in the shadows. He heads to the school, focused on his new mission to protect Min Duel and investigate. It is revealed that Min Duel also studies at Yongjin High School. The students are surprised and curious about the news of the arrival of a new transfer student. The students enter the imposing school building, an exclusive environment for the elite. Min Duel arrives, commenting that this is the school funded by the government. Unlike the others, she got in by luck and suffers constant bullying for not belonging to the elite. A group of bullies led by Janho knocks her to the ground for no reason. Fallen on the ground, she is treated with contempt by the bullies and their followers. A classmate helps her up, but she feels powerless to retaliate against the harassment. Janho and his group watch her with disdain, reinforcing the hostile environment of the class. Her gaze shows her contained anger and the desire to be able to retaliate. The two walk away, leaving the bullies behind and trying to ignore the harassment. Janho watches with an air of superiority, satisfied with the intimidation. The teacher enters the classroom and tells the students to sit down. To the astonishment of Min Duel and the entire class, the new transfer student is Ryujam. The whole class is speechless at the arrival of the new and handsome student. Min Duel is completely shocked to see him there in her classroom. The students begin to whisper among themselves, impressed with his appearance. He makes a gesture of silence, indicating that his identity should be kept secret. In a flashback, the president authorizes Ryujam's enrollment in the school. Ryujam had asked to attend the school, justifying it with his desire to learn about the modern world. The president then tasked the director of the intelligence service with taking care of the enrollment details. As soon as he sits down, Ryujam is immediately surrounded by curious classmates. He remains serious, indifferent to the attention he is receiving from the other students. Janho, the class bully, approaches and interrupts him arrogantly. Janho confronts him, and Ryujam responds enigmatically that he gets his physique by cutting people. Janho stares at him, confused and annoyed by the strange answer. The same student who met Ryujam before is also in the room and trembles with fear upon recognizing him. The boy is terrified, imagining that Ryujam is capable of destroying the entire school. Ryujam gives a playful look to the frightened boy, who shrinks back. He then sees Min Duel, signaling for them to talk outside. They meet in an empty hallway so they can talk in private. She questions him, incredulous that he has enrolled, and demands to know his true identity. He explains that he entered through special admission so he can act as her manager and protect her closely. Before enrolling, he was instructed on how to behave and what to say to keep his identity a secret. Shocked, she warns him not to act as her protector at school, as they would both be in trouble. She insists that they must act like complete strangers inside the school to avoid suspicion. After giving the warning, she walks away quickly, leaving him behind. When she looks back, she realizes that Ryujam has suddenly disappeared. In another part of the school, Janho and his henchmen intimidate a student to steal his money. Janho's tyrannical control makes everyone in the room afraid of him. The boy refuses to hand over the money, defying the bully's authority. For his disobedience, Janho hits him with a strong punch to the stomach. The blow leaves him breathless and with visible pain. The other students watch the scene, too afraid to intervene. Ryujam, who had disappeared to follow a Kai trail, observes the bullying scene from a distance. Janho forces the student to kneel down and pick up the money he dropped on the floor. The classmate explains to Ryujam that Janho has a policy of charging a tax from everyone. Ryujam is disgusted to hear that Janho proclaims himself the king of the school. Janho and his henchmen hear Ryujam's disdainful comment and turn to face him. Ryujam approaches and with sarcasm apologizes for disturbing the king. Ryujam observes the situation in the classroom with seriousness. Janho, the class bully, stares at Ryujam with a challenging smile. Ryujam walks through the school hallway, attentive to his surroundings. Janho's henchmen create a tense atmosphere by surrounding another student. Janho, a classmate, watches the scene terrified. The students watch the intimidation, too afraid to intervene. Janho and his group prepare to confront Ryujam directly. Ryujam faces them calmly, unfazed. Janho approaches and provokes him with an arrogant smile. Ryujam's response leaves Janho visibly irritated. Janho orders his henchmen to attack mercilessly. Confident, Janho smiles as his men advance. Coldly, Ryujam asks, "Aren't you going to die?" The question leaves Janho furious and shocked. Blinded by rage, Janho attacks Ryujam with a punch. Desperate, Janho shouts, trying to warn about the aggression towards the new student. A teacher arrives in time to stop the fight. Janho is frustrated at being prevented from continuing. Ryujam observes everything with a slight smile, impassive. In the hallway, the teacher reprimands Janho's group for the commotion. Janho casts a hateful look at Ryujam, promising revenge. Ryujam returns the look, indifferent to the threat. The scene changes to the school cafeteria during lunch. The environment is busy, with various groups of students eating. Ryujam looks for a place to sit with his tray. Afraid of Janho's reprisals, the students empty the table as soon as Ryujam approaches. He notices the forced isolation imposed on him. Breaking the boycott, Janho nervously approaches to have lunch with him. The two sit down to eat together, ignoring the others. The dominance that Janho and his group exert over the school is shown. Scenes of bullying reinforce Janho's tyranny and cruelty. During lunch, Ryujam reflects on the school's situation. Janho and Ryujam have lunch together. Janho warns him that because of him, he is now also a target of Janho. The teacher calls Ryujam for a private conversation. They move away from the other students to a more private location. The teacher questions him about recent events. The teacher reveals herself to be Unhai in disguise, curious about his discoveries. She is shocked when he reveals that he found traces of Kai at the school. Ryujam explains that he tried to provoke a fight to force the user to reveal himself, but was interrupted. Far away, Janho continues his bullying, humiliating another student for money. Ryujam concludes that martial Kai still exists in this world, even if latently. Elsewhere, Janho corners Janho to punish him for his association with Ryujam. The bully stares at him with contempt, ready for aggression. He orders Janho, already injured, to take off his shirt to be beaten more. Janho watches him cruelly, treating violence as routine. Forced to retaliate, Janho lands a weak punch on Janho's shoulder. Terrified, Janho awaits the inevitable retaliation. Janho brutally punches him in the face. His henchmen film the scene, enjoying the violence. To increase the humiliation, they prepare to take off Janho's pants. The class president, Minguk, intervenes and prevents the aggression. With a serious expression, Minguk decides to face the bullies. He remembers a conversation with Min Duel, who inspired him to act. Her disappointment with his previous passivity motivated him to change. Determined, Minguk faces Janho, no longer willing to be a coward. Janho mocks his sudden courage, finding it pathetic. The bully prepares to attack the class president. Minguk retaliates with a punch, unconsciously releasing a strong wave of Kai. He himself is surprised by the strength of his blow. Ryujam appears and blocks Minguk's punch with ease. Upon feeling the energy, Ryujam confirms that Minguk is the Kai user he was looking for. The students watch the scene shocked, while Janho remains injured and humiliated. Janel's henchmen take advantage of the confusion and advance to attack Ryujam. Ryujam faces them with disdain, prepared. He remembers the promise to the principal not to cause trouble. Respecting his promise, Ryujam allows the henchmen to attack him without retaliating. He recalls Junho's words, "The strong protect the weak." Ryujam reflects on how Janho, despite being physically weak, helped him adapt. He understands that strength manifests in various forms. Junho's perspective on strength and weakness impresses him. Junho's kindness and support resonate in his mind. One of the henchmen breaks his own hand while punching Ryujam's motionless body. The aggressor screams in pain, shocked by the superhuman resistance. With a simple movement, Ryujam knocks down another aggressor. A third henchman is knocked out effortlessly. Janho and the other students watch, amazed by the demonstration of power. With the henchmen on the ground, Ryujam turns to their leader. He faces Janel and sarcastically asks if the king is ready for his performance. Janel the bully prepares for a direct confrontation. He concentrates, ready for the fight. Janel prepares to deliver his strongest blow. He advances with a powerful punch. Janel believes that his blow will be decisive for the fight. Ryujam defeats him with a single, casual flick on the forehead. The force of the impact throws Janel backwards, knocking him out. Ryujam points at the defeated bully with disdain. Janel groans on the ground with a huge bump on his forehead, completely humiliated. Ryujam walks away, leaving the other students in a state of shock. He approaches Minguk, the class president. Ryujam says that Minguk would be a more worthy king than Janel. He remembers the powerful punch he blocked moments before. Ryujam identifies Minguk as the target of his investigation at the school. Minguk becomes alert, suspicious of Ryujam's intentions and how he knows so much. In front of his classmates, the teacher scolds Ryujam for causing a fight on his first day. The instructor stares at him sternly, demanding an explanation. Annoyed, the teacher directly confronts him about the mess. The other students watch the scene, shocked by the new student's audacity. Min-duel watches the situation unfold, worried. The fight started because Janel and his cronies were defeated. Min-duel is even more surprised by the turn of events. Minguk stares at Ryujam, trying to understand what just happened. Ryujam looks at Minguk, the real target of his investigation at the school. Min-duel watches the two talking, not understanding the connection between them. Ryujam walks away from the confusion, leaving the others behind. After the incident, life in the classroom continues. Si-yoon approaches Min-duel to comment on what happened. Si-yoon says that with Ryujam's presence, their safety is guaranteed. The scene recalls Janel humiliated after being easily defeated. Although defeated, Janel and his group still plan to take revenge. The gang leader promises that he won't let things stay this way. Min-duel reacts while talking to her friend. Si-yoon confesses to Min-duel that she finds Ryujam different and wants to get closer to him. She openly admits her interest in getting to know the mysterious new student better. Min-duel decides to tell her friend the truth. She whispers that Ryujam is her new manager, leaving Si-yoon completely shocked. The two walk down the hall, and Si-yoon promises to keep the secret. Min-duel smiles, happy to have someone to share the information with. Si-yoon concludes that Ryujam seems much more reliable than the manager she knows. Ryujam reflects alone on his conversation with Minguk. He concludes that Minguk is unaware of the power of Kai he possesses. The teacher calls Ryujam for a disciplinary conversation. In a flashback, Ryujam questions Minguk about Qigong, but he denies knowing what it is. Minguk becomes visibly tense with Ryujam's strange questions. Ryujam realizes that the boy is genuinely ignorant of his own strength. Minguk emanates an aura of power without realizing it. Ryujam's expression reveals that he has finally confirmed who the Kai user was. He remembers the moment he blocked Minguk's punch, feeling the familiar energy. Ryujam focuses, as he has identified his target at the school. Furious, the teacher slams his hand on the table and decides to call Ryujam's guardian. He points at the student, determined to punish him for the mess. In the principal's office, the teacher awaits the arrival of the guardian. Ryujam remains calm, showing no concern. Someone knocks on the office door. Ryujam's supposed guardian enters the room. To the teacher's shock, the person in charge is the director of the National Intelligence Service with his agents. The director stares at the school instructor with clear disapproval. The teacher is paralyzed with fear and surprise upon recognizing the authority. The director takes over the situation, telling Ryujam to leave the rest to him. Ryujam is relieved to see the problem being resolved by a higher authority. Later on a terrace, Unhai meets with Ryujam. She hands him a file with information about Minguk, stating that investigation is her specialty. Ryujam begins to analyze the dossier he received. The document is Park Minguk's complete school record. Unhai and Ryujam discuss the findings of the investigation. She reports that superficially Minguk is an ordinary student with nothing special in his history. Ryujam realizes that the investigation will be more complicated than he imagined. Unhai confirms that the power of Kai was not inherited, as Minguk's parents are normal people. The file reveals an important piece of information. Minguk has an older brother named Park Dehan. Back in the classroom, Minguk sits thoughtfully at his desk. Ryujam begins to connect the dots, suspecting that Minguk's brother has a connection to the security team he faced. The image connects Minguk to the team leader, solidifying Ryujam's suspicion. At home, Minguk's brother Dehan seems to be waiting for him. Minguk returns home alone at dusk. He climbs the stairs leading to his apartment. Upon arriving, he seems to sense that something is wrong. His brother Dehan was waiting for him in hiding. Minguk approaches the front door. Dehan approaches him and asks if anything unusual happened at school. Seriously, Minguk says that someone at school used a power similar to theirs. He recounts the events, still surprised. Minguk describes how the new transfer student defeated the school bullies. He adds that the boys seemed to know about their power, even though he denied it. The brother asks Minguk to describe the student's appearance. Upon hearing the description, Dehan becomes tense and disappears. Minguk is shocked by the sudden disappearance. He calls for his brother, confused, realizing that he vanished into thin air. In an office, the security team leader's phone starts ringing. The section chief, Kim, answers the call. Dehan is on the other end of the line. He informs the chief that he has found the target they were looking for and reveals he's a high school student. Ryujam returns the money that Janho had stolen from a classmate, establishing a new order in the class. Humiliated, Janho observes and questions who supports the new student so that he acts with such confidence. Min-Duel and the other classmates watch, impressed with Ryujam's attitude. The class president Minguk also witnesses the shift in power in the room. After class, Ryujam looks for Minguk in the recycling area to interrogate him. While Minguk explains how to separate the trash, Ryujam presses him for answers about his identity and power. Minguk becomes suspicious and asks why Ryujam is so interested in him since his brother disappeared. When Ryujam grabs his shoulder, the tension increases. Minguk prepares to fight back, feeling threatened. Min-Duel suddenly appears and interrupts them, asking what is happening. She questions the two's secret conversation. She suggests that, since they are all special admission students, they should be friends. In the agency office, the boss summons Ryujam and Min-Duel for a meeting. The boss offers them a job opportunity in a web drama. He hands them the keys to a car, informing them that the manager will have to drive to the filming location. Not knowing how to drive, Ryujam asks, confused, how he should ride that thing. He stares at the key, not understanding its function. Min-Duel insists that they must leave soon, and the boss gives them a credit card for expenses. During the bus trip, Ryujam and Min dual talk. He asks about her relationship with Minguk. She explains that they are close because they are both special admission students, which has brought them a difficult life at school. Min Duel reveals that Minguk is very influenced by his older brother, who works in security. She gets annoyed when she realizes that his interest is in Minguk, not her. Ryujam pretends to sleep, but the word security confirms his suspicions about the men he faced. Upon arriving, Min Duel asks Ryujam not to follow her so as not to attract attention. She instructs him to wait on the film crew's bus. Alone, Ryujam waits, connecting the dots about Minguk and his brother Dehan. Suddenly, men from the security team find him and question him, "Are you really a student?" The group enters the bus, surrounding him menacingly. The leader stares at him, ready for the confrontation. Ryujam offers a deal: answer his questions about Park Dehan and he will spare them. Ignoring the offer, the leader advances to attack. Still sitting, Ryujam blocks the punch with extreme ease. The leader releases a large amount of Kai in his fist, surprised by the defense. Ryujam twists the attacker's wrist, disarming him. With a quick counterattack, Ryujam throws the leader backward. The other henchmen are shocked by the demonstration of power. The leader is quickly knocked out. Ryujam grabs the emergency hammer and uses it as a weapon. The remaining men launch a group attack. He faces them, hitting them with the hammer. While fighting, he notices that their qigong is weak, a cheap imitation. He defeats them effortlessly. After the fight, he returns the hammer to its place. He arranges the men's bodies in the seats, as if they were just sleeping. A man with a powerful presence approaches the bus. Ryujam goes out to meet him, feeling the strong energy. The man, Park Dehan, checks his watch, noting that his team was defeated in less than a minute. Dehan stares at Ryujam, unimpressed. Ryujam identifies him. "Are you Park Dehan?" Dehan demands to know who he is. Ryujam responds enigmatically that he is an ancestor of their family. Dehan faces his opponent seriously. Ryujam observes him, impassive. Dehan's expression changes to shock. Dehan laughs at Ryujam's claim that he is his ancestor, finding the answer ridiculous. The two stare at each other, the tension increasing before the confrontation. Dehan smiles with disdain, underestimating his opponent. Ryujam remains calm, analyzing the situation. Dehan mocks him. He attacks him with a blow to the head. Confident, Dehan smiles after landing the blow. Ryujam holds a metal pole to defend himself. Dehan is surprised at how easily his attack was stopped. The impact of the pole cracks the concrete floor. They decide to continue the fight in a more isolated location. Both move to an empty park to fight without interruptions. Dehan prepares to fight seriously. He releases a large amount of Kai, enveloping his body in a powerful aura. Dehan states that answers will only come if Ryujam is defeated. Ryujam prepares for combat. His eyes focus on the opponent, ready for action. Dehan advances with superhuman speed. The attack hits and pushes Ryujam back with considerable force. Dehan is impressed that his opponent managed to contain the speed of the blow. He uses the environment to his advantage in the fight. Dehan uses the walls as a ramp to deliver a strong aerial kick. The fight continues with an exchange of rapid blows. Dehan realizes that Ryujam is reading all his movements. He dodges, trying to find an opening. Dehan concentrates his power for a stronger attack. The exchange of blows continues, becoming increasingly intense. He assumes the posture of the silent fist of the tiger. Ryujam is surprised to recognize the technique. Energy concentrates in Dehan's fist. The first blow of the sequence generates immense pressure, even when blocked. Dehan's fury increases as he continues the sequence of attacks. He prepares for the next blow of the technique. He attacks again, releasing more power. His eyes glow with the intensity of the energy. He prepares the third attack of the sequence. The image of a tiger, manifests behind him during the blow. Ryujam dodges, and the pressure of the attack destroys the surrounding trees. Dehan stands firm on the ground for the final blow. He launches the fourth and final attack of the sequence. He shouts, putting all his strength into his fist. The fist glows with concentrated energy. Suddenly, Dehan realizes that his opponent has disappeared. Shocked, he searches for Ryujam. There is no sign of Ryujam anywhere. The image of a tiger represents the silence of the technique. Ryujam reappears in his blind spot and criticizes his inefficient manipulation of Qigong. Ryujam demonstrates the true form of the silent fist of the tiger. He counterattacks with the same technique, executed perfectly. Dehan is hit squarely and thrown backwards. Ryujam's single blow is so powerful that it shatters the ground, defeating Dehan instantly. Dehan, defeated, realizes the enormous difference in power. The fight is clearly decided. Ryujam observes the fallen opponent, revealing that he didn't even need to use the full sequence. Min-Duel is surprised to be taken back in a private vehicle. In the car, Ryujam supervises the unconscious Dehan. The next morning at Dehan's house. Dehan is still unconscious after the fight. Ryujam wakes him up with a slap. Dehan wakes up startled, not remembering having fainted. As a man of honor, he prepares to fulfill his promise and answer the questions. He questions Ryujam, confused by the situation. Ryujam begins to explain what he discovered. He reveals that Dehan's body does not possess inherent Qigong. Ryujam searches the house for answers. Dehan watches apprehensive. Ryujam finds ampules and reveals that they are the artificial source of the brother's power. The ampules are shown in detail. He explains that the pills implant Qigong into a person's body. The revelation also applies to Minguk, the younger brother. A photo of the Park brothers is shown, reinforcing the family connection. Ryujam stares at Dehan. Dehan, nervous, demands that he speak in simple terms. Ryujam reveals the shocking truth. He warns that if they continue using the pills, both will die. Dehan shouts, refusing to believe and overcome by fear and anger. His despair is evident. He clenches his fist in frustration. Ryujam advises him to stay away from the people who provide the pills to protect his brother. Suddenly, the two feel an immense and unknown pressure coming from the door. They become alert with the unexpected arrival. Dehan starts to sweat cold, terrified by the new presence. An elegant man gets out of a car. Reporters flock to the arrival of the world's celebrity, Yanwu. Yanwu greets the crowd with a smile. He walks confidently through the place. Yanwu meets Unhai and greets her. She reveres him, maintaining a professional posture. Unhai's eyes suddenly widen in shock. Yanwu stops time, creating a barrier that freezes everyone around. The reporters and fans stand still. Only the two remain conscious within the time barrier. Yanwu's eyes glow with a sinister green light. He grabs Unhai by the neck and questions how she is still alive. With a manipulative smile, he holds her, revealing his true and dangerous intentions. Yanwu grabs Unhai by the neck, questioning how she is still alive. Frightened, Unhai realizes that he noticed her healing condition. With a manipulative smile, Yanwu states that he never intended to discard her. He orders her to take off her blazer, which falls to the ground. Exposed, Unhai feels excruciating pain take over her body. She tries to use her energy to heal from the wound left by Ryujam. Yanwu watches her, surprised by her ability to see through her so clearly. He holds her by the chin, saying he will help her because she has already suffered enough. Unhai's eyes widen in pain and shock at his action. He transfers his own energy into her body, healing her instead of worsening the infection. He holds her and tells her not to be angry. Yanwu continues trying to gain her trust with false words. Despite the healing, Unhai shows an expression of horror at the pain he is causing her. His manipulative smile reveals his true and cruel intentions. Yanwu's expression confirms his wicked plan. Far away, the reporters are confused by Yanwoo's sudden disappearance. On the rooftop, Dehan processes the revelation that the pills will lead him to death. He smokes, tormented by doubts about the organization and whether he should trust Ryujam. Dehan wonders if the organization deliberately hid the danger of the pills. He questions the motives behind the company's actions. Dehan sighs, resigned to the situation. He throws away the cigarette when he sees his brother, Minguk, arriving. Dehan waits for his brother with a serious expression. Minguk arrives from school and finds his brother. While Minguk brushes his teeth, Dehan watches him and asks, "When did I?" Minguk is confused by his brother's strange behavior. Dehan informs him that they will no longer use the pills, as the company has temporarily suspended their use. The two brothers discuss the decision in the bathroom. Dehan's expression shows that his decision is final. Suddenly Minguk starts bleeding from the nose, a side effect of the pills. Dehan becomes extremely worried about his younger brother's health. Annoyed, Minguk complains about his brother's excessive concern, saying that it's normal to have nosebleeds. Dehan tries to calm his brother, still worried. At a CK company meeting, the director is about to give a demonstration. The director of the organization, Cha Janil, dines while watching the meeting. The director talks about the effectiveness of their new product. A test subject in a wheelchair is brought into the room. An executive watches the scene attentively. With the power of the Qigong pills, the man in the wheelchair easily defeats several guards. The test subject sits calmly among the defeated bodies of his opponents. He smiles disdainfully, showing the overwhelming power granted by the pills. Dehan is shocked to witness the power of the product. The director watches from above the successful demonstration for his investors. The test subject displays a smile of superiority. An executive presents a briefcase full of ampules, showing the high demand for the product. The product, nicknamed vitamin injection, is already being tested in hospitals. The director strokes his cat, satisfied with the success of his venture. The director calls Dehan to ask for a report on the mission against Ryujam. Nervous, Dehan remembers his humiliating defeat. A flashback shows Dehan being completely outmatched by Ryujam. Unable to admit the truth, Dehan lies, saying that he took care of the target in private. Dehan feels bad for lying, knowing that he only bought himself some time. The director dismisses him, telling him to return to his position. At school, Minguk glares at Ryujam, annoyed that he is being followed all day. Ryujam approaches and claims that their meeting is just a coincidence. Minguk turns his back suspicious. Ryujam watches him, confirming that he hasn't been emitting any traces of Kai lately. His attention is diverted to the courtyard, where he sees Janho bullying Janho again. Janho kicks Janho, who is lying on the ground. Janho is on the ground, terrified by the aggression. The violence continues while the others watch. Janho grabs Janho by the collar, humiliating him. Janho's face shows the pure fear he feels of his aggressor. Janho's henchmen watch the scene with approval. Janho prepares to step on Janho. The henchmen are surprised when someone intervenes. Min-dul appears and interrupts the aggression. Janho is furious at her interference. However, upon seeing Ryujam approaching, Janho and his group flee in terror. Before fleeing, Janho prepares to assault Min-dul. Ryujam appears and stops Janho's blow at the last second. Completely intimidated, Janho stares at Ryujam, who prevents him from continuing. Janho clenches his teeth, paralyzed by fear. Ryujam watches the group of bullies walk away. He turns to Min-dul and reprimands her for her recklessness. Ryujam explains that, with the new discoveries about the pills, he will no longer be able to protect her as before. Min-dul helps Janho get up and advises him to be more careful. Ryujam reflects on how he misses his old comrades, whom he could trust. He feels isolated in this new era, without his comrades from the past. Min-dul takes care of Janho, worried. Ryujam watches them walk away, thinking about a solution. He has an idea to break Janho's spirit permanently. Ryujam proposes that Janho himself face Janho alone. The suggestion leaves Janho and Min-Duel completely shocked. To help him, Ryujam touches an acupuncture point on Janho's chest. He tells Janho that the procedure will drastically increase his physical abilities. Janho is stunned, unsure whether to believe in the sudden infusion of power. In a flashback, Janho recalls his childhood, when he read manga and was a defender of the weaker ones. He remembers how he was taller than the others and used his presence to help his classmates. However, one day, he was bullied by a bully classmate. Janho broke up the fight, defending the victim. The bully challenged him to a fight, and Janho accepted. He spent the next few days mentally preparing for the confrontation. Janho imagined fight scenarios inspired by his manga. On the day of the fight, the first blow he received left him completely stunned. The impact left him disoriented and shocked. The bully and his friends surrounded him, ready to beat him up. Despite trying to assume a fighting pose, his body did not respond. He was paralyzed by fear, unable to react. Overcome with dread, all he could do was cry as he was beaten. The other boys laughed at him as they assaulted him. The humiliation left him fallen and defeated on the ground. Since that day, Janho believed that the trauma prevented him from growing physically. In the present, he is a thin and insecure student. That painful memory still haunts him. Back in the present, Min-Duel and Ryujam find Janho unconscious after the previous conversation. Ryujam explains that he briefly knocked Janho out to apply the treatment. Janho wakes up and asks incredulously if the story of piercing an acupuncture point is real, like in Muram tales. Min-Duel observes the scene, completely confused by the conversation. Ryujam confidently states that Janho's physical abilities will now increase dramatically. Janho is silent, processing the information. Despite the absurdity of the situation, he feels a change in his body and decides to believe it. Later at night, the city is illuminated. Ryujam accompanies Min-Duel home, saying it's part of his duties as her manager. She says he can go now, as her house is nearby. He insists on making sure she gets home safely. Min-Duel invites him to follow her for a moment. She buys him a popsicle. Sitting on a bench, she watches him taste the ice cream for the first time. Ryujam comments that it's sweeter than he imagined, calling it ice cream. Min-Duel teases him, saying he acts like he's from the past because of his talk about acupuncture points. She stares at him, finding his behavior very peculiar. He continues eating the popsicle, unfazed by her comment. Suddenly, a woman approaches them. The woman scolds them, finding it dangerous for two girls to walk alone at night. Ryujam gets up and his height scares the woman, who falls backward. Min-Duel rushes to help the lady, who complains about the pain from the fall. The woman criticizes Ryujam's long hair, calling it ugly, and Min-Duel agrees that it's bizarre. Ryujam touches his hair, but his eyes notice something unusual. He quickly grabs the woman's bag, telling her to lend it to him for a second. Min-Duel screams, shocked by his attitude, while the woman flees. The woman runs desperately, while Min-Duel stays behind, yelling at Ryujam. She doesn't understand why he acted so abruptly. The woman flees, terrified, holding her bag tightly. Min-Duel demands an explanation from Ryujam. He calmly replies that he felt a dangerous object in her bag. Ryujam holds up a pill, revealing what he found and showing concern about their spread. In his room, Janho stares at the manga that inspired him. He reflects on the conversation with Ryujam. The hope of having gained special powers begins to emerge. He wonders if he finally has the strength to face his aggressors now. However, doubt persists, as deep down he still feels like a coward. He looks at the growth marks on the wall, remembering how he stopped growing at age 8. The mark of his 19 years is just above the old one, symbolizing his desire to overcome the past. With newfound determination, Janho clenches his fist, determined to change his destiny. The next day at school, Min-Duel finds Ryujam waiting for her, now with his hair tied up. She teases him, asking if he tied his hair up because of her comment. Ryujam changes the subject, saying he called her there because it's a good vantage point. He points to the classroom, revealing his plan. Min-Duel is shocked to realize that he actually intends to watch Janho's fight. He explains that it will only have value if Janho does it alone, without his direct interference. She questions why he called her, and he replies that it was to prevent her from intervening. Ryujam turns to observe the scene, ready to see the result of his plan. The two observe the classroom from afar. Inside, Janho humiliates Janho, throwing a slipper and ordering him to fetch it to get his cell phone back. The bully holds Janho's cell phone, smiling arrogantly. Janho hesitates, sweating nervously under the pressure. The other students watch the scene, fearful and silent. Ryujam turns and asks Min-Duel what she thinks will happen. She replies sadly that, even if Janho believes the lie, he probably won't be able to face his fears. Standing, Janho faces his aggressor. His face shows a new determination, surprising everyone. Instead of obeying, Janho throws the slipper back. The slipper hits Janho squarely in the face, infuriating him. Suddenly, Janho throws the slipper forcefully at Janho's face. Janho is shocked and angry at Janho's defiant attitude. He stares at Janho, incredulous at the rebellion. Janho gets up, declaring that he will end this once and for all. Janho's friend, Changhyun, approaches to deal with the situation. Despite the trembling, Janho faces Ryujam, who watches him from afar. He turns to Changhyun, ready for the confrontation. His body still trembles, but his decision is made. He clenches his fist, declaring to himself that he will change their world. With a serious expression, he prepares for the fight. Min-Duel, watching from afar, questions if that is really the Janho she knows. With his body trembling, Janho clenches his fists, determined to change his world. Observing from afar, Min-Duel questions incredulously, "Is that really the Janho I know?" A crowd of students gathers around to watch the impending fight. Janho and Changhyun exchange the first blows, starting the confrontation. The student spectators are shocked by the sudden violence. Ryujam observes the scene calmly, assessing Janho's courage. Janho is quickly knocked to the ground by Jinyo's henchmen. Changhyun stands over him, victorious. He starts beating Janho, who tries to defend himself unsuccessfully. The beating continues with a sequence of punches. Janho writhes in pain from the blows received. He takes a direct hit to the face, feeling the strong impact. Jinyo, the leader of the aggressors, watches everything with a satisfied smile. Even on the ground, Janho continues to be kicked mercilessly. Changhyun grabs him by the collar, humiliating him. The one-sided aggression continues in front of the whole class. Jinyo approaches to participate in the aggression. He smiles cruelly, savoring the moment. Min-Duel yells at Ryujam, accusing him of lying to Janho about the powers. Ryujam replies that he didn't lie, he just awakened the faith that generates courage. Unexpectedly, Janho reacts with a powerful headbutt that knocks Changhyun down. The henchman falls back, stunned by the sudden counterattack. Feeling strengthened, Janho points to the leader and shouts, "You're next." Jinyo reacts immediately with a violent kick to Janho's face. The students watch shocked as the fight escalates to a new level. Janho, although injured, faces Jinyo with a new determination. The bully throws him to the ground again. From the ground, Janho looks up, refusing to give up. Jinyo brutally stomps on his face. He grabs Janho and throws him violently. Janho's body collides with the ground forcefully. Jinyo approaches to finish the fight. He looks at his victim with total contempt. Janho bends over, exhausted and hurt. His face is covered in bruises and blood. Still, he gets up once again to fight. Jinyo attacks him with another powerful kick. The impact throws Janho against the school lockers. Without giving him a break, Jinyo slams his head against the metal. The blow is brutal, showing the aggressor's cruelty. One of the students observes the scene, paralyzed with fear. The entire class watches the violence in horror. Ryujam finally intervenes, stopping Jinyo's fist and ordering him to stop. Janho kneels, holding his aching head. With a firm grip, Ryujam prevents Jinyo from continuing the attack. On the ground, Junho's body trembles with pain and exhaustion. He looks up, his will to fight still intact. Jinyo gets angry with Ryujam's interference. Ryujam puts his hand on Junho's shoulder, encouraging him to continue. Janho turns to face his opponent once again. Ryujam tells him to go ahead and believe in himself. Janho assumes a fighting stance, ready for the final confrontation. He prepares himself, focused on his opponent. His fists are clenched, showing his resolution. Jinyo stares at him with disdain, underestimating his determination. The class watches in silence, waiting for the outcome. Janho advances and lands a clean punch on Jinyo's face. His expression is of pure concentration and fury. Jinyo tries to counterattack, but Janho dodges. Jinyo's expression changes from confidence to surprise. He tries a kick, which Janho prepares to receive. The impact of the kick is strong, but Janho absorbs the blow. The spectators gape at his resistance. Janho stumbles, but manages to stay on his feet. Bleeding, he remains firm, to everyone's astonishment. Jinyo attacks again, frustrated by not being able to knock him down. He throws him against the lockers once again. Jinyo provokes, trying to break Junho's spirit. Junho's legs tremble, but he refuses to give in. Despite the extreme fatigue, he remains standing. He exchanges a look with Ryujam, who observes him from afar. Ryujam gives him a look of silent approval. With renewed strength, Janho lands another punch on Jinyo. The bully is stunned, not expecting any more resistance. Janho thinks, "I'll do what I couldn't do that time." Inspired by his mangas, he unleashes a sequence of rapid blows. He unleashes a rain of punches, completely dominating Jinyo. He realizes that the feeling of fighting has always been inside him. Min-Duel and Ryujam are shocked by the sudden turnaround. In his mind, Janho sees himself as the hero he always admired. He imagines the confrontation as a fight scene from his comics. The sequence of blows continues, relentless. He attacks with all the strength he has accumulated for years. The final attack hits squarely, sealing the fight. The mental image of his hero overlaps with his action. Jinyo's face shows the shock and pain of impending defeat. In a last effort, Jinyo tries to grab him, but it's useless. With a final movement, Janho throws him to the ground. The students explode in celebration, shouting Janho's name. Jinyo lies fallen, completely defeated. Janho stands over his aggressors, finally victorious. Exhausted and sore, he shouts, "I won," feeling the taste of victory and the pain of his injuries. After the victory, Janho feels the pain of his injuries, but smiles, exhausted. On the school rooftop, he waits for Ryujin and wonders if he will come. He gets startled when he hears someone approaching from behind. Ryujin appears and asks, "Do you feel okay now?" He observes Janho, awaiting a response. Janho, surprised, turns around and calls him master. He confirms that he feels great and declares that, from that day on, Ryujin is his master. Ryujin gets curious and asks about the martial arts he used in the fight. He smiles, intrigued by the situation. Embarrassed, Janho admits that he only copied what he saw in a comic book. He thanks him for the temporary powers, recognizing that the effect has already passed. Hopefully, Janho asks if he could have that kind of power permanently. Ryujin proposes a deal. "I'll give you the power, but you'll have to help me." Janho accepts the offer without hesitation. "For a disciple, that's natural," he says, sealing the pact. Ryujin then instructs him to follow him. Without warning, he jumps off the roof of the building. Janho looks down, completely shocked and incredulous. From down there, Ryujin shouts that his training is the tough love type. Despite the fear, Janho runs to follow him. Meanwhile, at his house, Dehan prepares breakfast and tries to wake up his brother. Minguk remains motionless under the covers, without responding. Annoyed by the silence, Dehan pulls the sheets off of him. He freezes, with his eyes wide with pure horror at what he sees. Far away, Ryujam answers the phone. It's Dehan, who calls in complete despair. Ryujam listens carefully to the situation. His expression turns somber as he understands the gravity of the problem. Dehan says, I heard, I will cooperate. Minguk's condition worsened drastically. His skin began to rot. Unconscious, the boy sweats in pain in his bed. Dehan begs for a solution. His body is rotting. He is everything to me, please help me, he cries. Ryujam gives him a phone number and tells him not to worry, as he will take care of the matter. Meanwhile, Ryujam cuts his own hair, stating that he needs maintenance to adapt. The director of Isekai, Cha Janil, receives news about Dehan's lie. In his office, he reflects on the latest events. He gets irritated when he confirms his subordinate's failure. On a golf course, the director discusses the situation with his assistant, Janho. The director smiles maliciously, praising Janho's instincts. With a precise shot, he symbolizes the beginning of his new plan. He orders Janho to investigate the matter personally. The director reveals that the new ampules are finally ready. He prepares to start the mass distribution of the product. The plan is that the more effective, the more addictive the drug becomes. The director oversees the vast stock. Shelves are filled with boxes with the new and dangerous ampules. He declares that distribution to 100,000 people begins now. Agents in suits carry briefcases full of the product. The briefcases are discreetly loaded into the trunks of luxury cars. A convoy of cars departs during the night to distribute the ampules. Following Ryujam's instructions, Dehan arrives at the Youngjun High Gymnasium. He enters the place, which is completely empty. He looks around, waiting for the person he was supposed to meet. Suddenly, Dehan turns around when he feels a presence behind him. Unhai appears, commenting on his delay. He stares at her, surprised to find her there. Dehan recognizes her from the call and questions, skeptically, "A girl is going to help me." She teases him with a smile, "Do you want to dance?" Confused, he doesn't understand her question. Unhai releases her energy, and Dehan is shocked to realize that she also has powers. She formally introduces herself to him. Dehan now understands that she is part of the same world as him. Unhai approaches, saying that she smells a familiar scent on him. She pulls on the collar of his shirt, revealing the decomposing flesh on his shoulder. He pushes her hand away, but she warns him that whoever uses this power needs to deal with the consequences. She seems to know what she's talking about, to Dehan's surprise. He asks impatiently when Ryujam will arrive. The two wait in the center of the gymnasium court. A hooded figure finally enters the place. The man lowers his hood, revealing his identity. Dehan and Unhai gape at Ryujam's new look. With his short hair, he asks, "How do I look? Do I look like a modern person now?" Dehan mutters, incredulous that he went to a beauty salon in the middle of a crisis. Unhai also questions the reason for the sudden change. Ryujam turns to them with a serious expression. He thinks of his old enemy, Okon, and his followers. He explains that he needs to blend into this era to face his adversaries. With a determined look, he declares that something dangerous is spreading throughout the world. Dehan and Unhai listen carefully, understanding the gravity of the situation. With a slight smile, Ryujam concludes, "So let's save the world." The unlikely alliance between the three is formed to combat the threat of the pills. Ryujam explains that he needs to blend into the current era to face his old enemies and their followers. At the gym, Ryujam, Unhai, and Dehan form an alliance to combat the threat of the pills. With his new look, Ryujam asks if he now looks like a modern person. Unhai observes Ryujam's change, questioning the reason for the sudden haircut. She is surprised when he mentions that he needs to prepare to face Akian and his followers. Ryujam and Unhai discuss the gravity of the situation. Dehan reacts to Ryujam's statement that they will save the world, shocked by the scale of the mission. The trio turns around, ready to start planning their next actions. Dehan states that his top priority is to save his brother, Minguk. Dehan is shocked to hear Ryujam's analysis of his brother's condition. Ryujam examines Minguk and finds that his condition has worsened because a new substance has been mixed into the old pill. Ryujam holds up an ampule and declares that they need to analyze the properties of the new drug to find a cure. Frightened, Dehan realizes that the new ampule that the organization developed is the cause of his brother's condition. Ryujam explains that the new version of the pill is much more dangerous because it maximizes effectiveness. Unhai asks Dehan if he can obtain a sample of the new ampule so they can analyze it. Ryujam focuses, processing the information to devise a plan. Still distrustful, Dehan questions whether he can really trust them to save his brother. To end the doubt, Ryujam releases his energy in front of Dehan. Dehan's eyes widen, amazed by the demonstration of power. With a touch, Ryujam completely heals Dehan's decaying shoulder. Ryujam tells Dehan to stop doubting and reaffirms his promise to help. Unhai and Ryujam exchange a look, confirming that they now have Dehan's cooperation. Grateful and surprised by the instant healing, Dehan commits to the team. Unhai, focused on the mission, asks where they can find the new ampule. Dehan explains that information about the distribution is confidential and each team operates independently. Unhai and Dehan begin to discuss possible infiltration strategies. She suggests using Dehan to reach his superiors, but Ryujam interrupts her. Ryujam states that the goal is not just to infiltrate, but to eradicate the organization and the pills. He warns that the leaders of the organization may be under the command of someone even more powerful. Dehan and Unhai listen attentively to Ryujam's strategic perspective. Unhai expresses her frustration, finding Ryujam's plan too cautious. Dehan interrupts them, revealing that he has one more crucial piece of information that he hasn't shared. The group's focus turns to Dehan, awaiting the new revelation. Ryujam is shocked to learn from Dehan that the original target of the attack he was supposed to carry out was Dula. The next day at school, the routine continues as normal. The teacher notes the absence of the class president, Minguk, and asks what happened. A classmate reports that Jinhyul is also absent, speculating that he is ashamed to show up after the defeat. Dula seems worried to hear about Minguk's absence. Janho, now free from his aggressor, attends class with a new tranquility. On the roof, Ryujam reflects on the latest events. Dula finds him and asks if he knows why Minguk missed school. Ryujam calms her down, saying that Minguk will probably be back soon. Suspicious, Dula insists on an answer, feeling that he knows more than he says. Ryujam maintains his serene expression, without revealing details. It is revealed that Ryujam used his energy to stabilize Minguk's condition, preventing it from worsening. Thanks to this intervention, Minguk rests at home, beginning his recovery process. Ryujam tells Dula that Minguk only needs a few days of sleep to fully recover. Suddenly, Ryujam silences Dula as he senses someone approaching. He warns her to be quiet as someone is coming. Sin Choisun appears on the roof, surprising them. Dula greets her cheerfully. Dula introduces Sin to Ryujam, proudly calling her her best friend. Ryujam stares at Sin, immediately linking her to the information he received from Dehan. Ignoring the tension, Dula hugs Sin, reaffirming their friendship. Ryujam approaches Sin and whispers a direct question in her ear. Ryujam's attitude leaves Dula confused and curious. Sin turns pale and shocked at Ryujam's words. Ryujam confronts her with a serious look, expecting a reaction. Ryujam's expression leaves no doubt that he knows the truth about her. In a flashback, Dehan tells Ryujam that he received direct orders from his boss to attack Dula. Dehan admits to falsifying the report to close the case, protecting Dula without knowing the reason for the attack. Back at the gym, Ryujam and Unhai continue to plan. Dehan is determined to collaborate to dismantle the organization. At her home, Sin is furious and scared, realizing that her plan has been discovered by Ryujam. She remembers the moment when Ryujam whispered, asking why she hates Dula so much. Ryujam's question shakes Sin, who recoils, while Dula watches everything without understanding. Ryujam observes Sin's reaction, confirming his suspicions. Totally destabilized, Sin flees, followed by a worried and confused Dula. Moments later, Unhai arrives on the roof to meet with Ryujam. Unhai informs Ryujam of the results of her investigation into the boss of CK Shielders. She is surprised that Ryujam already suspected that the boss's last name was Choi. Ryujam reveals that he remembered one of Akian's old and most brutal subordinates, named Choi Yeon. A flashback shows the immense destruction caused by Choi Yeon in the past. The scene from the past displays several warriors defeated by his overwhelming strength. The silhouette of Choi Yeon walks away from the devastated battlefield. Unhai confirms Ryujam's suspicion. The boss of CK Shielders is Choi Yeon, who now uses the name Choi Jongwon. In the present, Choi Jongwon's subordinates bow respectfully upon his arrival. He walks with an imposing presence through the corridors of his company. Choi Jongwon's face is revealed, a man of cruel and powerful appearance. After class, Ryujam and Dula walk home together. Dula questions Ryujam about what he said to make her friend, Choi Soon, leave school early. She insists, frustrated, "Why do you decide this for me? Spill it." Ryujam calmly states that she wouldn't believe him if he told her. He stops and reveals, "All the bad things that happened to you were the work of Choi Soon." Dula is paralyzed and shocked by the accusation. She stares at him, incredulous at what she just heard. Her eyes widen. "Logo did all this, how can you be so sure?" Ryujam sighs, "I told you you wouldn't believe me." Upset and confused, Dula walks away, deciding to go alone. She walks, lost in thoughts about the terrible revelation. Sitting on a staircase, Dula begins to remember how her friendship started. She remembers the day Choi Soon approached her to be friends. At the time, Dula warned her, "It won't be good to be around me." But Choi Soon just smiled and said that the only thing that mattered was that they were happy together. Dula remembers the happy moments in the classroom. They became inseparable and shared everything. Memories of meals and conversations flood her mind. She remembers the days of shopping and fun. She remembers when they sang together at karaoke, hugging. The image of her friend's genuine joy makes the betrayal even more painful. Back in the present, she murmurs to herself that it is impossible that her best friend betrayed her. Alone, she confronts the painful possibility. Her face shows the anguish of questioning her entire friendship. Meanwhile, at her house, Choi Soon clenches her fists, furious with Ryujam. She thinks angrily, "How did it come to this, that jerk, he's so annoying." Her eyes burn with hatred for him, having ruined her plans. She covers her face, frustrated at being exposed. With a determined look, she refuses to be defeated. In her father's office, Janho reports the situation to Choi Jongwon. Jongwon stares at him as Janho questions the rudeness of whoever entered. Janho turns around and is shocked to see who it is. Choi Soon sits in an armchair with an expression of disdain. Jongwon gives his subordinate a stern look. He stares at his daughter with a calm expression. He kneels before Choi Soon, who ignores him. Jongwon apologizes, "Your father made a big mistake, but don't be too upset, everything will be resolved soon." Elsewhere, Ryujam hears Dehan's plan. Dehan explains that some deals with the ampules are done secretly, like smuggling. He informs that the transactions are arranged by applications like Telegram. Unhai and Ryujam, not understanding the technology, look at him confused. Dehan, annoyed, asks, "Don't you even know Telegram? It's a messenger application." Unhai still doesn't understand anything. Dehan is getting more and more frustrated with their technological ignorance. Ryujam looks to the side, equally lost. Dehan rubs his forehead, not knowing where to start explaining. Ryujam and Unhai exchange a look, both completely confused. Dehan, exasperated, sighs, preparing to explain everything from the beginning. He tells Ryujam that he needs to find someone to make the contact and the purchase. Ryujam replies that he thinks he already knows who can help. A cell phone screen shows the sales ad for the vitamin injection in an anonymous chat. A message is sent to buy 2 units of the product. The purchase is confirmed through the application. Later, Janho is on a train, visibly nervous about the mission he received. He remembers Ryujam's instructions. The deal has to go well, but be careful, these people are dangerous. The word dangerous echoes in his mind, leaving him terrified. The train arrives at the terminal station, the meeting place. Janho gets off and looks around the deserted platform, looking for the meeting point. A man with an intimidating appearance emerges from a door and stares at him. The man signals for Janho to follow him. Scared, Janho follows him, assuming he is the seller. He hands over the money, eager to complete the mission quickly. The exchange is made. Suddenly, the seller's cell phone rings, interrupting the deal. Janho freezes, feeling that something has gone very wrong. While the seller is on the phone, another man appears. The order is to cancel the deal due to suspicion about the new buyer. Janho starts to sweat, realizing that the suspicion falls on him. He panics, knowing he is in danger if he is caught. The men turn and approach him menacingly. Desperate, Janho tries to run to the train door. The sellers watch him with disdain without haste. He is easily cornered at the door, with nowhere to run. With no way out, he shrinks, expecting the worst. Suddenly, a door opens behind him. Dehan appears with a smile and reassures him, "It's okay, I'm an ally." Team 2 drug dealers look surprised at the approaching figure. Dehan appears with a confident smile, ready to intervene. Janho, cornered on the ground, looks up with an expression of relief and surprise. With a look of disdain, Dehan stares at the 2 men. Janho's eyes widen as he realizes he has been saved. Dehan pulls Janho behind him and reassures him, "It's okay, I'm an ally." He throws Janho to a safe place, away from the confusion. Still on the ground, Janho watches the scene unfold, stunned. The dealers bow to Dehan, recognizing him as a team leader. Dehan reprimands them with authority, questioning their actions. In the subway station, the tension between the 3 increases. Elsewhere in the station, Ryujam looks around, completely lost and muttering about how confusing subways are. Dehan reaches out and demands the new ampule. The dealer is shocked by the audacity of the request. His partner also reacts with hesitation and distrust. Dehan maintains a smile on his face, confident in his bluff. The 2 men stare at each other, unsure how to proceed. They remain shocked by Dehan's demand. Dehan's expression changes as he realizes something is wrong. The 2 drug dealers receive a notification simultaneously on their cell phones. The message is an alert from the team leader to increase security and watch Park Dehan. Realizing the betrayal, Dehan attacks the 2 men without hesitation. Both are thrown back by the force of the surprise attack. Dehan advances to finish the fight quickly. He easily blocks a desperate counterattack. With precision, he lands a punch on one of his opponents. He continues the offensive, delivering powerful blows. In an act of desperation, one of the dealers injects the new ampule into himself. His eyes fill with a new determination. He believes that now the fight will be possible. Energized by the drug, the dealer assumes a fighting stance. Dehan notices the change and asks, "That's the updated ampule, isn't it?" The man smiles sinisterly, feeling the power flow. With superhuman strength, he throws Dehan against a pole. He approaches to provoke Dehan, saying, "No hard feelings." Dehan gets up, feeling the difference in power. The second dealer mocks him, commenting on the strength of Team 2. He also prepares to use an ampule. Annoyed, Dehan shouts, "You guys are getting arrogant, huh?" Hidden, Janho watches the fight with fear and admiration. Dehan advances, but is caught off guard by the second opponent. The other dealer grabs him from behind, immobilizing him. Trapped, Dehan is forced to listen to the taunts about his team. The two men stare at him, ready to attack together. They attack him together, showing their combined strength. The two dealers are knocked out by a counterattack from Dehan. Dehan orders Janho to step away and go back to the car so he doesn't get hurt. He prepares to face the enemies who rise again. He protects Janho, placing him behind him. Dehan takes a deep breath, aware that the fight will be difficult without the power of the ampule. The second dealer also uses the ampule, and both attack Dehan. The two opponents attack him from behind simultaneously. Dehan turns and manages to deliver a powerful blow. Despite his skill, he is hit by the coordinated attacks. The fight intensifies, with Dehan facing two enhanced opponents. The dealers pressure him with a combination of punches. The impact of the fight shatters the train car window. Janho watches the scene terrified, pressed against the glass. The two men manage to corner Dehan and hit him with a double blow. They prepare for the final attack, certain of victory. They grab Dehan's face, but he doesn't give up. With a defiant smile, Dehan grabs their fists, showing that he still has strength. He breaks free and counterattacks with surprising force. The dealers are shocked by his resistance. Dehan defeats them, throwing them against the broken glass. Janho is speechless at the turnaround in the fight. Exhausted, Dehan sits victorious next to the unconscious bodies of his opponents. Later, the two dealers are tied up and captured, ready for interrogation. Dehan laments that he will certainly lose his job, but Ryujam says that subways are complicated. Ryujam casually suggests killing the prisoners to solve the problem. Janho reacts in shock to his master's suggestion. Ryujam tells Janho that he is now part of the team and must listen to the information. Dehan expresses his concern, stating that the men are trained not to talk. Ryujam smiles and tells them not to worry, as they have a specialist in the matter. The prisoner grinds his teeth, determined not to give up any information. Ryujam stares at him, knowing that his resistance will be useless. Anhai approaches elegantly, ready to begin the interrogation. The team watches as she prepares to use her methods. To everyone's surprise, she sits on the prisoner's lap. Anhai stares at him and says, "Let's have fun together, darling." Janho, Ryujam, and Dehan watch the scene, shocked and confused by her technique. With a seductive smile, Anhai prepares to use her illusion arts. She whispers in his ear, activating her technique to forcefully extract the truth. In a flashback, the prisoner is shown as a special forces soldier. He and his team parachute into a combat zone. On the ground, they advance under enemy fire. Their determination is clear. For him, the organization comes above all else. Back in the present, Anhai faces the tied-up prisoner, ready for interrogation. She approaches and whispers, "Let's have some fun together." Inside the illusion, the man sees himself lying in a bed. He seems confused, as if he were in a dream. He sits up, completely disoriented by Anhai's technique. He wakes up in the illusion and wonders what the hell is going on. Anhai appears in his dream and says, "You've woken up, from now on it's just you and me." He stares at her, shocked that she has invaded his mind. She seduces him, promising to fulfill his desires in exchange for information. The power of the illusion begins to dominate the prisoner's mind. His eyes show that his resistance is crumbling. Anhai smiles, knowing that her method is working. Dehan, watching from outside, asks what kind of desire she used to break the man so easily. Anhai explains that illusions work best when they hit the right desire. She pressures the prisoner inside the illusion, asking where the ampules are stored. Dehan and Ryujam watch the man give in to the mental pressure. With his mind broken by the illusion, the prisoner smiles disturbingly. Ryujam sighs and comments on how frustrating it is not to be able to simply kill someone who deserves it. The other captured prisoner watches everything, tied up and gagged. The man finally reveals the information. The ampules are in Director Janho's cellar. Dehan is shocked, as he never knew of the existence of a cellar in that location. Ryujam expresses his anger upon learning that minors are used as test subjects. The prisoner laughs bitterly, admitting that the minors suffer the worst side effects. Dehan gets angry at the revelation, but Unhai calms him down. After the interrogation, the man, still under the effect of the illusion, attacks and kisses his partner. Unhai comments that if they can't kill them, at least she can leave them like this. Ryujam gives the order for the team to disperse and start the mission immediately. The second prisoner reacts with horror to being kissed by his partner. The forced kiss continues, to the despair of the second man. Janho murmurs if dying wouldn't be a better option for them. With the information obtained, Ryujam prepares the next steps of the plan. Unhai and Dehan prepare for the infiltration mission. Unhai asks Ryujam what he will do while they are away. At the school, Choi soon walks down the hallway. She stops suddenly when she sees who is in her path. Ryujam confronts her directly. He stares at her and states, "You are Jongwon's daughter." Ryujam reflects on how his old enemy could have a daughter. An image from the past shows Jongwon as a war beast, holding a dead child in the middle of a battle. Dula arrives, interrupting the tension and inviting Choi soon to eat. The two girls walk away, leaving Ryujam thoughtful. In a gymnasium, Ryujam prepares to train Janho. Janho positions himself, ready, and Ryujam says that training will continue until they receive contact. Ryujam analyzes the posture of his new disciple. At night, the CK Shielders building becomes the target of the infiltration. Unhai moves stealthily inside the building. She communicates by radio with Dehan, confirming that she is in position. From a neighboring building, Dehan watches her with binoculars and instructs her to be more discreet. Unhai advances through the office, which appears empty. Dehan guides her, reminding her that the goal is only to locate the ampules. Unhai continues the mission, moving towards her objective. She stops in front of an elevator. Dehan, from his observation post, continues to monitor the situation. Suddenly, his eyes widen as he sees something unexpected. Two men exit the elevator, blocking Unhai's path. The men are identified as Woo Sang-hyuk and Jo Jin-Hwan, team leaders of the organization. Dehan panics and urgently warns her over the radio. One of the leaders, Jin-Hwan, asks Unhai why she doesn't get in the elevator. Unhai, disguised, tries to appear calm and lets them pass. Dehan wonders why the leaders are in the office at that hour. Jin-Hwan prevents the elevator door from closing, suspicious. He confronts her about the headset. "Who are you talking to?" Despite the pressure, Unhai remains silent. She reports to Dehan that she has reached the destination and has not been discovered. A drop of sweat runs down her face as she tries to maintain her composure. The leaders stare at her suspiciously before finally leaving. Dehan, relieved, asks for a situation report. Dehan's eyes remain fixed, tense with the dangerous mission. Unhai advances down the hallway towards the director's room. She feels that something is wrong and expresses a bad feeling. Unhai locates a ventilation entrance in the ceiling. She prepares to use the duct as an infiltration route. While crawling through the ventilation, she complains, and Dehan apologizes for it being the only option. She opens the ventilation grate on the other side. Unhai lands silently inside the target room. Dehan waits anxiously for news. She confirms over the radio, "I found the ampule," but then she stops abruptly. She realizes that she is not alone in the room. Dehan notices the hesitation in her voice and freezes. Jin-Hwan is sitting in the room, smiling sinisterly. He reveals the trap. "I was waiting for you, Dehan." Sitting, Jin-Il interrogates his prisoner with a sinister smile. He questions her about her objectives, promising to free her in exchange for answers. Far away, Ryujam runs, feeling that something is very wrong. He thinks about Dehan's urgent message and wonders what is happening. In a flashback, Janho meets Minguk, Dehan's sick brother. He approaches the young man, who seems debilitated and worried. Janho offers false help, deceiving Minguk to gain his trust. Later in a restaurant, the boy uses his cell phone, suspecting nothing. Janho takes the opportunity to touch Minguk's device. From afar, he watches his espionage plan being put into practice. He confirms on his own cell phone that the installation was successful. The screen shows the installation of a spy program being completed on Minguk's cell phone. Back to the fight in the laboratory, Dehan is exhausted and at a disadvantage. Unhai explains that she needs time to recharge her energy and use her illusions again. After the battle, Unhai is captured by Janho. She is easily subdued and thrown to the ground. Even captured, Unhai tries to use the rest of her powers to create an illusion. She launches a mental attack against her captors. However, her attack is blocked and Janho provokes her, calling her an interesting woman. The team leaders immobilize her, completely neutralizing the threat. Janho smiles, victorious for having captured her. Dehan intervenes to protect Unhai, attacking one of the team leaders. He manages to land a powerful punch on his opponent. The impact of the blow throws the opponent away. The fight leaves him exhausted, as he is without the power of the ampule. He provokes the enemies, all of you against one woman, that's pathetic. The three opponents stare at him, ready to attack together. Dehan positions himself in front of Unhai to protect her. Janho sitting mocks them, did you really manage to find this place? Dehan decides to use an ampule, aware that the odds are not in his favor. His gaze fills with determination to focus only on escape. The two team leaders also inject ampules to increase their power. Janho warns his men to be careful, as Unhai is not a common opponent. With the ampule injected, Dehan prepares for battle alongside Unhai. The fight restarts with a violent collision of blows. The leaders focus their attacks on Unhai to neutralize her first. Dehan throws himself in front of her, receiving the attack to protect her. Even injured, he prepares to counterattack. The offensive against Unhai continues relentlessly. Dehan manages to hit one of the leaders with a precise blow. The battle takes its toll, and the pain is evident on his face. Unhai shouts for him to duck and releases a wave of energy that knocks down the enemies. Janho watches the scene, enjoying himself, and comments, "Not bad." Dehan scolds her for the risk she took, saying it was close. She stands firm, despite the exhaustion of her powers. Unhai's technique proves powerful, but with a high energy cost. She concentrates for a possible new attack. Dehan advances to attack, but is intercepted by Janho. The leader's attack throws him violently to the ground. He struggles to get back up, feeling the weight of the battle. Janho picks up his weapon, a long staff which Dehan recognizes. Dehan prepares to face the armed opponent. Janho jumps for the final attack, shouting, "I'm going to bet everything." Janho intervenes, stopping the blow. "Are you trying to kill each other? We are a family," he shouts. He stares at the two, ordering the fight to stop so they can talk. The battle is interrupted, creating a tense impasse on the spot. He proposes, "How about we stop playing around and talk for a second?" Dehan stares at him, suspicious, but decides to listen. Dehan remembers moments when Janho treated him like a younger brother in the past. He begins to explain the situation, mentioning his brother. Janho listens with a serious expression. Dehan confesses that he gave part of his ampule to Minguk because he was very sick. He explains that his brother's condition worsened drastically because of the new ampules. Desperate, he clenches his fist, feeling hopeless. Janho reveals the shocking truth. The new ampule, I was the one who gave it to him. Dehan is paralyzed by the betrayal. Consumed by fury, he punches Janho with all his strength. Janho smiles, revealing his true nature. The betrayal reignites the battle with even greater violence. Janho receives the blow, but seems unfazed. Far away, Ryujam runs at high speed, feeling that time is running out. He moves faster, desperate to reach the place. Back in the laboratory, the team leaders prepare to finish the fight. They prepare more ampules for the final confrontation. Dehan injects his last ampule, bleeding from the extreme effort. He murmurs, incredulous at the betrayal, "I didn't want to believe." Unhai watches him, worried, knowing that his body won't last much longer. He faces the enemies and roars, "Did you all know?" Dehan's fury makes his opponents hesitate for a moment. Before he can attack, Janho kicks him, knocking him down. The impact of the blow breaks the wall, showing his devastating strength. Dehan falls to the ground, completely defeated. Unhai watches her ally fall powerless. Janho taunts him, trying to show off with old samples. Ryujam continues running desperately through the city. He needs to get to the place as quickly as possible. In his mind, Dehan sees himself sinking into the water, losing consciousness. Janho and his men capture Unhai and leave Dehan behind. Ryujam finally arrives, his powerful entrance breaking the floor. He looks down and finds Dehan's unconscious body. In an interrogation room, Unhai is held hostage. Ryujam answers an urgent call from Dehan, who informs him that the situation is out of control. In desperation, Dehan runs while making the call, asking Ryujam to go to the location. Ryujam's expression hardens upon hearing the gravity of the situation. Without hesitation, Ryujam runs at high speed through the city to get to the rescue. He propels himself into the air to gain more speed. With a powerful jump, he approaches the battle location. Ryujam finally arrives and locates his fallen comrade. In a vision, Dehan sees himself sinking into the water, losing consciousness. He struggles not to drown, thinking of his brother. Little by little, the darkness and the sensation of drowning consume him. He begins to accept his fate, stopping to fight. His consciousness fades as he sinks deeper and deeper. He gives up completely, sinking into the depths. Suddenly, a figure appears in his vision, coming to his rescue. Ryujam dives in his direction to save him from the darkness. In the vision, Ryujam grabs him and pulls him out of the water. Back in reality, Dehan coughs violently, saved by Ryujam, and thanks him. Ryujam stares at him seriously and asks what happened. Dehan, panting, replies that Janho appeared. Janho is shown with a victorious look. Ryujam punches Dehan to snap him out of his state of shock and despair. Ryujam scolds him, telling him not to exaggerate and to control himself. Struck by reality, Dehan collapses in tears of frustration. Ryujam turns worried as he cannot contact Unhai. Dehan apologizes, admitting that his plan completely failed. Ryujam thinks to himself, questioning where Unhai might be. In another location, Unhai is sitting, captured and waiting. Janho sits in front of her and interrogates her with a smile. Unhai stares at him and says she is not comfortable. He promises to free her if she answers who her target is. Janho continues smiling, waiting for an answer. Unhai ignores him and demands to speak directly to the boss. Suddenly she feels a new presence and is surprised. Janho notices the arrival and tells her that she is lucky, as the boss is there. Janho walks down the hall towards the room. He hums carelessly as he approaches. Unhai watches as he enters. Janho arrives and stares at Janho, who bows. He comments that there is a guest. Janho dismisses Janho, who leaves the room with a smile. The door closes, leaving Unhai and Janho alone. Janho begins to pour 2 glasses of wine. He comments that he only wanted some wine but found a guest. Unhai releases her energy, manifested as glowing butterflies. The illusion spreads through the room, making her chair disappear. She instantly reappears in front of Janho to attack. Janho prepares to defend himself from the surprise attack. Unhai advances with her blow, enveloped in the energy of her illusion. Jong-un smiles, finding her technique annoying. With a single gesture, he releases a wave of energy. The wave of power expands, completely undoing the illusion. Jong-un's attack destroys the butterflies and Unhai's technique. The room returns to normal after the demonstration of strength. Unhai lands on the ground, her attack has been completely neutralized. She stares at Jong-un, who observes her with superiority. He comments that she still uses the same annoying buzzing as before. Unhai studies him and calls him by his old name, or should I call you Choi Jong? Jong-un smiles, admitting his identity. As expected of Anhai, you see everything. He boasts of his happy life, achieved thanks to Kayong. He smiles, remembering his loyal subordinates like Janho. Unhai questions him for not seeming surprised by her presence. He pours the wine, and Unhai asks if he knows about Ryujam. Jong-un freezes when he realizes that she and Ryujam are working together. He listens to Unhai's proposal to hand Ryujam over to him. The news makes him thoughtful and he smiles, calling her amazing. Unhai awaits his response to the proposal. She stares at him, hoping he will accept the deal. Jong-un offers her a glass of wine and says he never refuses a fight. He smiles and refuses the offer, stating that he is no longer like that and will not fight. Unhai is surprised and nervous at the unexpected refusal. Her eyes widen, not understanding his plan. Jong-un turns, declaring that he now has many things to protect. The negotiation ends with Jong-un turning his back on Unhai. At night, Choi soon waits on the street, complaining about the delay in being picked up. She sighs, annoyed by the delay. Two men approach her from behind stealthily. They prepare to act, following orders. One of the men grabs her shoulder. She turns, startled by the sudden approach. Her eyes widen as she realizes the danger. The men cover her mouth and kidnap her. A guard bursts into Jong-un's office in a panic. Jong-un is dining peacefully when he is interrupted. He eats a piece of meat, oblivious to the problem. His expression changes to shock upon hearing the news. The guard, terrified, reports that his daughter has been kidnapped. In a fit of rage, Jong-un smashes the table, shouting, "Who did this? I'm going to tear them to pieces." His gaze fills with hatred and determination. The scene reveals Ryujam, who is identified by the guard as the main suspect in the kidnapping. In a flashback, an army prepares to capture Choi Jong-un under the orders of their captain. The captain shouts orders for his soldiers to prepare for battle. Jong-un runs desperately through the forest, fleeing from the soldiers. The captain watches the chase, determined to capture him. In his arms, Jong-un carries and protects a frightened child. The child, terrified, asks why they are being hunted. Jong-un comforts her, promising that better days will come. A rain of arrows is fired in their direction. The arrows fall everywhere, surrounding them. A soldier expresses doubt, but the captain states that it will not be enough to stop him. The captain remains confident in the strength of his troop. Jong-un uses his own body as a shield, taking the impact of the arrows to protect the child. Soldiers with studded shields advance to surround him. He hugs the child tighter to protect her from the imminent attack. With a single movement, Jong-un breaks through the shield formation, throwing the soldiers away. A soldier prepares to attack him with his sword. Jong-un blocks the blow with one arm while holding the child with the other. The soldier is shocked by Jong-un's strength. With a fist glowing with energy, Jong-un prepares a counterattack. The blow hits the soldier squarely, neutralizing him. The soldiers watch, surprised, as their comrades are thrown through the air. Despite being at a disadvantage, Jong-un continues to fight fiercely. The soldiers manage to trap him with chains and hooks. Immobilized, Jong-un looks with despair at his captors. The child breaks free from his arms during the fight. The soldiers pull him with ropes, successfully subduing him. A soldier approaches the fallen child and executes her coldly. Jong-un's eyes widen with pure horror and fury. The captain warns his men not to lower their guard. He shouts that Jong-un's true form has not yet appeared. The soldiers look, confused and frightened by the warning. Behind Jong-un, a monstrous shadow with glowing eyes begins to form. A soldier looks up, terrified of what is to come. Back in the present, Jong-un wakes up from his nightmare, panting. Jae-il is by his side and asks if he slept well. Jong-un, still shaken, asks Jae-il about the investigation. Jae-il informs that Ryujam and Dehan approached his daughter to obtain the ampule. He offers to take care of the situation, but Jong-un dismisses him. Jae-il insists that he will solve the problem himself. Elsewhere, Dehan sits alone, looking defeated. His teammates gather around him, worried. They ask what happened to him, noting his condition. The men try to cheer him up and invite him to go out. Dehan looks at them coldly. He rejects them abruptly, saying they are useless to him. Walking away, he thinks he is doing this to protect them from getting involved. In his room, Dehan looks exhausted. He gets up to answer the door. In a hospital room, Minguk is lying, unconscious and bandaged. Ryujam and Juno knock on the door to visit Dehan. The two enter and greet Dehan, who seems surprised. The three sit down to discuss the situation. Juno suggests using Jong-un's daughter to obtain information. Dehan and Ryujam consider the idea. Juno clarifies that he did not mean to kidnap her. He kneels nervous, trying to explain himself. Dehan and Ryujam stare at him, evaluating the proposal. Suddenly, Dula's cell phone, which is with them, starts ringing. Ryujam answers the call from Sun. On the other end of the line, Sun warns that someone is attacking her. Her face shows panic as she reports the situation. Sun is shown tied up, being interrogated by Jae-il. Jae-il smiles sinisterly at his hostage. He crouches in front of her, controlling the situation. He shows an ampule and boasts that with it, he can defeat even Ryujam. Jae-il demands to know where he can find more ampules. Sun calls him crazy for his actions. He grabs her face tightly, annoyed by her resistance. Jae-il threatens her, saying he knows her father distributes the ampules. He pressures her to get the information. Jae-il threatens to mark her face if she does not cooperate. Sun cries, terrified by the threat. Jae-il approaches her, ready to carry out his threat. Dula suddenly appears and pushes him away from Sun. Sun looks at her savior, shocked and relieved. Dula faces the aggressor with anger and determination. Jae-il recovers, furious at the interference. Ryujam, Dehan, and Juno arrive at the scene. Jae-il faces them with a maniacal look, ready for the fight. Ryujam steps forward and grabs him by the collar effortlessly. He stares at him with contempt, showing his superiority. Jae-il is stunned, unable to react to Ryujam's strength. Ryujam questions him about his plans. Jae-il mocks, saying it's none of his business. Suddenly, the door is broken down, hitting Jae-il and throwing him to the side. Ryujam looks at the entrance, surprised by the new arrival. Jong-un enters the room, with an expression of contained fury. Jae-il gets up and points to Ryujam's group, accusing them of kidnapping Sun. Ryujam's team gathers, while Dula and another girl take care of Sun, who has fainted. Ryujam positions himself, ready for the confrontation. Ryujam's energy manifests, showing that he is ready to fight. Jong-un stares at him with hatred, and the tension in the room reaches its peak. The students are startled when the ground shakes violently, and Si-yoon asks what's happening. A foot crushes the asphalt with superhuman force, revealing the origin of the tremor. Dehan stares at the approaching opponent, shocked by the immense amount of power he feels. Enveloped in a blue aura, a burly man walks towards them, destroying the ground with each step. Dehan smiles, resigned, and comments that there will be no talking to that man. He positions himself in front of the students to protect them and orders them to flee the scene. A man with reddish hair suddenly appears, stopping between Dehan and the enemy. He introduces himself as Ryujam and states that he will take care of the situation. The burly opponent advances with a roar, shouting that Ryujam will be the first to die. With a savage fury, the enemy launches into the attack. Ryujam prepares his counterattack, the fist of a tiger, and the image of a spectral tiger appears behind him. His fist glows with blue energy as he prepares for the impact. The punch lands squarely, creating a shockwave that hurls the burly man away. The force of the impact hits Dehan and the students, who can barely stay on their feet. A new group of men, led by Janho, arrives and orders the capture of the fugitives. Ryujam moves in an instant and knocks out one of the henchmen with a single blow to the chest. The other henchmen freeze in fear as they see their boss defeated so easily. To everyone's surprise, the burly man gets up unharmed and provokes Ryujam, asking if that's all he's got. Ryujam smiles, revealing that the punch was not a direct attack but part of a larger plan. In response, the ceiling collapses on Janho's men, crushing them under the rubble. Amidst the chaos, a team leader reports the situation to a director by phone. Janho receives a call with orders to take care of Siyun, which leaves him visibly shocked. While the burly man attacks Ryujam again, a mysterious voice orders the others to flee. Dehan wakes up and realizes he is behind the wheel of a van, fleeing at high speed. Confused, he tries to understand where he is and what happened. In the back seat, Siyun also wakes up, and her friend asks if she remembers anything. Siyun is shocked to remember a student protecting her from an attack. The memory leaves her torn between anger and gratitude. She turns around and asks the others how she ended up inside the vehicle. A colleague speaks on the phone in code, which irritates Siyun and makes her scream in frustration. Another girl tries to calm her down, expressing relief that she is safe. The colleague's kindness makes Siyun feel guilty, even after everything that has happened. The boy with glasses begs her to reveal the location of the ampule, explaining that it is the only chance to save Minguk. At the wheel, Dehan hears his brother's name and grips the steering wheel tense. Siyun hesitates, saying that the ampule is dangerous and that she doesn't want to involve anyone else. Encouraged by her friends, who assure her that they can handle the situation, she makes a decision. She remembers the organization and deduces that the safest place to store the ampule would be her own home. Determined, she confirms to the others the probable location of the object. The group arrives at a large and modern residence, the target of the search. Dehan gets out of the car and mutters in disbelief as he sees what awaits him. He is frustrated to find that Janho and his henchmen have already arrived at the scene. With an arrogant smile, Janho provokes him, asking if he believes he can face so many men alone. He stares at him with an air of superiority, confident in victory. Dehan says he has no choice and injects an ampule into his neck to increase his strength. He throws the empty vial on the ground, preparing for combat. With his eyes glowing blue, he warns Janho to prepare himself. Janho responds with boredom, completely underestimating Dehan's determination. Dehan advances with superhuman speed and strength, attacking the group of henchmen. He knocks down his opponents with a sequence of devastating blows. Even at a disadvantage, he fights fiercely to clear a path. He provokes the opponents, asking if that's all they can do. The fight continues brutally, with Dehan facing several enemies at the same time. The weight of numbers begins to affect him, and he is finally knocked to his knees. The henchmen surround him and begin to beat him mercilessly. Inside the van, the students watch the scene horrified and feel helpless. The colleague with glasses, desperate, decides to go out to help in the fight. He stops abruptly when he notices the arrival of a new group. The reinforcements arrive and their leader confronts the henchmen. "Don't you think this is a bit much for just one man?" The newcomers, Team 3, take off their jackets in unison and challenge Janho's men. Wounded, Dehan smiles as he sees his companions and comments on his leader's direct way. The leader of Team 3 shouts for his men to advance, and they respond ready for battle. Team 3 enters the fray, turning the confrontation into a generalized chaos. A member of Team 3 fights with surprising strength, turning the tide. They attack with unexpected ferocity, showing their loyalty to Dehan. One of Janil's men, defeated, questions in shock where Team 3 gets so much strength. The henchmen are subdued by the strength and teamwork of the new opponents. The leader of Team 3 approaches Dehan, who watches his companions fighting. He puts his hand on Dehan's shoulder and promises to open a path, receiving a thank you. The camaraderie between them is clear as they prepare to continue the attack. Janil interrupts the fight by brutally stomping on the head of one of his own fallen men. With a mocking smile, he mocks the loyalty of Team 3. He then turns and challenges Dehan directly, "Come on, you son of a bitch." Exhausted, Dehan gets up, determined, and swears that he will not lose this time. Janil smiles and opens his jacket, revealing that he has several ampules to use. He injects one of them and with a maniacal look, says that he is eager to start. Elsewhere, Ryujam dodges a heavy blow from Cho Kayong. Cho Kayong grabs him by the collar and questions whether he can really trust his subordinates. Ryujam breaks free with a kick and says that the opponent has misunderstood everything. Recovered, Cho Kayong shouts for him to stop talking and die. Ryujam seems resigned, realizing that there is no way to avoid the fight. With a determined look, Cho Kayong prepares for the final attack. Ryujam picks up a metal pipe from the ground and says he will end the fight quickly. He positions himself with his improvised weapon, ready for the decisive confrontation. Cho Kayong faces his armed opponent without backing down. He prepares for Ryujam's attack, confident in his strength. Ryujam reflects on the stubborn nature of his opponent before attacking. He concentrates, preparing to deliver the blow that will end the battle. Back at the other fight, Janil crushes another ampule and thinks with a smile that Ryujam's trust in others will be his ruin. Dehan reflects that this is his last ampule. After injecting himself, he throws the empty vial and prepares for combat. Janil stares at him with boredom and provokes him. Yeah. Dehan advances with a flying kick towards Janil. Janil counterattacks with a spinning kick that hits Dehan's head. Dehan shouts his opponent's name in fury. Janil knocks him down and starts kicking him on the ground. He continues the attack with a punch, saying, "My turn." Despite the pain, Dehan's expression shows pure determination. Janil lands an axe kick on Dehan's back. Fallen, Dehan questions the enemy's plan. "Time, what does that mean?" Janil begins to reveal his betrayal. From today on, CK Shields is over. In a flashback, Janil's men are shown carrying briefcases with the stolen ampules. Janil narrates that the chaos was part of his plan from the beginning to get the robbery. Dehan confronts him, asking if that's why he hurt Minguk. Janil blocks a punch and replies that his brother was just a toy. With a maniacal smile, Dehan replies, "Oh, really?" He explodes in fury, unleashing a barrage of blows and shouting for Janil to die. Janil reveals metal claws and calls him noisy. With the claws, he pierces Dehan's abdomen. The impact of the blow throws Dehan away. Janil observes the fallen body and says, "Oops, looks like it's over." On the ground, a slight smile forms on Dehan's lips, planning his next move. With a last effort, he gets up and grabs Janil from behind. He explains that catching him off guard was his only chance to win. Dehan tightens the grip forcefully, crushing Janil's ribs. Seriously injured, he staggers back after releasing his opponent. As he retreats, he accidentally kicks a vial on the ground, getting distracted for a moment. Janil takes advantage of the distraction and trips him. Recovered, Janil taunts him, "Wow, that scared me, did I almost die for a second?" Dehan realizes that the ampule's power is gone. Janil says he'll stop there for old time's sake. Dehan's hand falls, but he refuses to give up. He lunges forward and grabs Janil's back, shouting for him not to go. Annoyed, Janil questions if all this is because of his brother. With a brutal kick, he throws Dehan against the hood of a car. While being held, Dehan's hand reached into the torn pocket of Janil's suit. He manages to steal an ampule and says, "Sorry, but I'll borrow this." Janil is shocked by his audacity. "Dare you touch my clothes?" He warns him that if he injects that ampule, he will die. With trembling hands, Dehan breaks the tip of the ampule. An explosion of energy and white vapor completely envelops him. He smiles serenely, accepting the sacrifice. It's okay. His determination is clear as he states that he does this so that Minguk lives. Empowered, Janil's kick hits Dehan with the force of a truck. A brutal exchange of blows begins between the two. Dehan manages to land a powerful punch on Janil's ribs. With a devastating punch, Dehan throws his opponent away. In a memory, Dehan remembers a conversation with his team leader. In a flashback in the van, the colleague with glasses asks Si-yoon about the ampule. In another memory, Team 3's leader promises to clear the way for Dehan. In retrospect, Team 3 is shown fighting bravely against Janil's men. The memory shows the moment when Dehan was subdued before his companions arrived. Back in the fight, Dehan, bloodied, vows to fight until one of them dies. In a flashback, Si-yoon watches the fight from inside the van, horrified. In the van, the boy with glasses begs for Si-yoon's help to find the ampule. Si-yoon makes the decision to reveal the location of the ampule. While in the car, Si-yoon feels guilty for her actions. After the fight, Dehan can barely stand, with his back covered in cuts. The scene returns to the moment when Dehan accidentally kicked the empty vial. Dehan smiles, foreseeing his last chance to turn the game around. The scene shows again Janil's spinning kick at the beginning of the fight. Fallen, Dehan prepares to get up and continue fighting. Janil shows his claws, enjoying the situation. Dehan's gaze fills with uncontrollable fury. Dehan manages to immobilize Janil in an arm lock. Janil breaks free and grabs Dehan by the neck. Dehan's hand falls to the ground, exhausted before his last effort. In a desperate embrace, Dehan clings to Janil to prevent him from escaping. Janil kicks him away with contempt. Dehan lunges against Janil's back. Janil's kick throws Dehan violently into the air. Dehan falls to the ground, almost unconscious. The camera focuses on the ampules stored in the inner pocket of Janil's suit. Dehan, with a smile, holds the ampule he managed to steal. Janil realizes that his suit was torn and his pocket is empty. He smiles, preparing for the final phase of the fight. Janil's eye shines with a maniacal intention. Dehan's hands tremble as he prepares to break the ampule. The energy of the stolen ampule explodes around Dehan. Dehan smiles, ready for power and death. With a bloodied face, his expression is of sacrifice and determination. In a flashback, Dehan remembers his old happy family. He remembers the day his parents divorced, and he watched his family walk away. Young Dehan faced the future with a serious expression. After the separation, he was in his father's custody. They lived in a modest apartment. Life was hard and memories were all that remained. He took care of his father, who could no longer work due to an injured leg, handing him the medicine. The photo of the complete family was a reminder of a time that would not return. His younger brother, Minguk, went to live with his mother. Dehan recalls his mother deciding to stay only with Minguk, claiming that his father would not be able to raise him well. His father accepted the decision in silence, with his shoulders slumped in sadness. Despite being forbidden, the two brothers met in secret. The mother took Minguk away, separating the brothers. They arranged their secret meetings through notes. Dehan waited anxiously for his brother in the park. Minguk arrived excited to meet his older brother. Together they spent time on the swings, like in the old days. They had fun eating snacks and enjoying each other's company. Despite the difficulties, they found joy in playing together. The secret meetings ended when their mother discovered them. Back home, Dehan was scolded by his father. The father, with a furious look, forbade the brothers from seeing each other again. Time passed and winter arrived, bringing more difficulties. Despite the cold, Minguk continued to wait for Dehan in the park every day. When Dehan finally found him, he realized that something was very wrong. Minguk's face was bruised and covered with a bandage. He tried to smile, lying that he had fallen, but in reality he was being mistreated by his mother's new partner. Upon realizing the truth, Dehan cried with anger and helplessness. He saw his mother with her new companion, which confirmed his worst suspicions. Minguk lived in precarious conditions, sleeping on the floor. Determined to act, Dehan went to his mother's house. He broke into the place, grabbed his brother and fled, pushing his own mother aside. The two brothers ran desperately down the street, hand in hand. Dehan cried as he ran, determined to protect Minguk at all costs. Hidden in an alley, Minguk asked why they couldn't go to their father's house, and Dehan explained that it was to protect him. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness of the alley. It was their father who had found them. The boys were scared, not knowing what to expect. When the father raised his hand, Dehan instinctively hugged Minguk to protect him. Instead of hitting them, the father knelt down and wrapped them in a tight hug. Crying, he apologized for not being able to protect them. 2 months later, the brothers were at their father's funeral. Overwhelmed by the burden of caring for his 2 sons, he had died in a work accident. Feeling responsible, Dehan made a difficult decision. He took Minguk to an orphanage. The younger brother looked around, scared of the unfamiliar place. Dehan smiled at him and promised, "It's okay, Minguk, I'll be with you." Back to the present, the fight resumes. Janil's kick hits Dehan with full force. Even injured, Dehan remains standing, moved by determination. Janil smiles, aware that he needs to end the fight quickly. The henchmen watch, shocked by Dehan's resistance. The leader of Team 3 watches the battle tense. A violent exchange of blows begins between the 2 fighters. Janil receives the attacks with a maniacal smile on his face. Dehan unleashes a sequence of punches, testing the limits of his resistance. He manages to land a powerful blow on his opponent. The fight continues, brutal and relentless. Dehan spits blood but refuses to give in. Janil also begins to feel the weight of the attacks. In a quick movement, Dehan lands a flying kick. The impact of the blows generates a shockwave that spreads through the place. Even the members of Team 3 are thrown by the force of the collision. Dehan falls to the ground, completely exhausted. Janil also staggers, surprised by the opponent's strength. The 2 face each other, both at the limit of their strength. Janil shouts incredulously, "How long will this madness last?" Gasping, Dehan replies firmly, "Until one of us dies." The exchange of punches resumes, each one more desperate than the last. Exhausted, they continue to fight, moved only by willpower. The leader of Team 3 sees that Dehan won't last much longer, and decides to intervene. He enters the fight and kicks Janil in the head to help his teammate. Janil laughs uncontrollably, "I'm the only one who can fully handle the ampule." Dehan concentrates, determined to endure until the end. Janil lands a powerful punch in Dehan's stomach. Janil's kick sends Dehan flying backwards. Remembering the promise he made to his father, Dehan finds strength for one last attack. He unleashes a final punch with all his remaining energy. The blow hits Janil's face squarely, ending the fight. The members of Team 3 watch, shocked, and murmur, "The team leader won." Dehan remains standing for a moment, victorious over Janil's unconscious body. Soon after, his strength runs out and he collapses to the ground. Unconscious, a slight smile of satisfaction appears on his bloodied face as he fulfills his promise. In his beast form, Cho Kayong attacks Ryujam with a devastating punch. Ryujam blocks the blow with a metal rebar, and the collision generates a shockwave. He stands firm, focused on the fight. The force of the impact throws both fighters away. Ryujam goes on the offensive, using the rebar as a weapon. He advances relentlessly against his opponent. Preparing for the next attack, he assesses his opponent. The exchange of blows continues at high speed. Cho Kayong prepares a counterattack, his fist glowing with energy. He delivers a powerful punch towards Ryujam. The impact of the blow shatters the ground around them. Cho Kayong's subordinates watch the fight shocked. One of them murmurs, impressed with the destructive power of the battle. Ryujam continues to attack with precision. He tries to pierce Cho Kayong's face with the rebar, but the opponent's skin proves impenetrable. Cho Kayong steps on the rebar, breaking it easily. Without his weapon, Ryujam attacks with a flying kick. Cho Kayong blocks the kick without difficulty. In a cruel act, he grabs one of his own men and uses him as a human shield. Ryujam disposes of what's left of the rebar. He attacks with a rapid sequence of punches. The last punch of the combination hits Cho Kayong squarely. Ryujam reflects that he usually resolves things with a single blow, admitting his opponent's resistance. Cho Kayong is thrown back by the force of the blows. Ryujam realizes that his opponent's fall is a trap. He moves to intercept Cho Kayong's surprise attack. The fight intensifies, with both using all their strength. Ryujam states that he always resolves things with a single blow. He pierces Cho Kayong's abdomen with the tip of the rebar. He follows with a second blow, cutting his opponent's chest. Cho Kayong's henchmen comment, shocked, that their boss has been betrayed and defeated. Ryujam prepares to deliver the final blow to Cho Kayong, who is on his knees. One of the henchmen confirms the betrayal, leaving Ryujam intrigued. He realizes that something is wrong in the scene. The real Cho Kayong appears from behind his copy and grabs it by the neck. He destroys the clone's head, revealing the trick. Cho Kayong asks if Ryujam also noticed the trap. He says he had already realized the betrayal. Ryujam asks if he finally understands the situation now that he has seen it with his own eyes. With his hands wrapped in energy, Cho Kayong prepares to attack again. He jumps into the air to deliver a crushing blow. The attack collides with Ryujam's defense, creating a large explosion. Ryujam manages to withstand the impact. Cho Kayong falls to his knees in a crater, apparently defeated. He laughs hysterically, lamenting being a failure and a disappointment to his family. He considers himself unfit to be the head of the family. Cho Kayong's remaining men advance to attack Ryujam. They scream in fury as they run into battle. Ryujam defeats them with ease. He grabs the head of one of the henchmen. His hand glows with energy as he prepares to crush him. He slams the man's face into the ground with force. The man dissolves into smoke, revealing himself to be another illusion. Cho Kayong comments that Ryujam noticed. The real Cho Kayong gets up, ready to continue. With his shirt torn, Ryujam says he will no longer hold back. He prepares to fight seriously. Cho Kayong laughs and says that his goal is not to defeat him. He kneels and punches the ground in despair. Ryujam tells him to stop with the nonsense and die. He lands a powerful punch on Cho Kayong. Cho Kayong falls to his knees, feeling the impact of the blow. Ryujam observes the fallen bodies of his opponents. Cho Kayong asks what he is trying to say. Ryujam turns to leave, saying that he will resolve this on another occasion. He throws away the broken rebar. He tears off the rest of his shirt and states that his main goal is to secure the ampule. He prepares to leave the scene. Cho Kayong gets up once again. He promises that he will do better next time. He declares that he will protect his organization, as they are the family he has chosen. With a swift blow, Ryujam knocks him down again. Cho Kayong is shocked by the speed and strength of the attack. Ryujam tells him to give up, as he has only been used from the beginning. He says he feels sorry for his opponent. Choi Kayong lies on the ground, defeated. He reflects on how he was used. Ryujam sharpens the tip of the rebar on the ground, creating sparks. Shirtless, he positions himself with his improvised weapon. Choi Kayong prepares for the next phase of the confrontation. A memory of Choi Kayong with his daughter at school flashes through his mind. He remembers a happy dinner with his trusted men. Another memory shows him in a tender moment with his daughter as a child. In the memory, his daughter smiles at him. Back in the present, his body begins to transform, and claws tear through his shoe. His shadow is projected on the wall, taking on a monstrous form. Ryujam observes the transformation with a serious expression. Choi Kayong's face deforms, giving way to a boar snout. Completely transformed into a beast man, he roars at Ryujam not to try to take his family from him. In his beast form, Choi Kayong stomps hard, shattering the ground. Ryujam faces his opponent, prepared for battle. The creature advances with speed, ready to attack. Ryujam's gaze is one of pure concentration. The colossal creature attacks Ryujam. Ryujam barely dodges the blow. The battle unfolds with rapid movements on both sides. Using a rebar, Ryujam counterattacks his opponent. He remains focused during the exchange of blows. Blood drips from the tip of the rebar. Ryujam pierces the creature's head with his improvised weapon. The blow hits the beast's shoulder squarely, spurting blood. He uses the opponent's body as support for a new attack. The beast attempts a punch, but Ryujam dodges. Ryujam responds with a powerful kick to the creature's face. The impact of the blows destroys the surrounding environment. Ryujam realizes his opponent's secret. The true power of this form is its regeneration capabilities. His expression changes as he understands the enemy's healing ability. The creature, already recovering, punches a wall. Even after being wounded, Choi Kayong continues to fight, his wounds closing. The beast's foot shatters the ground again. The beast attacks violently. The brutal battle continues, with blows being struck from all sides. Ryujam firmly grips the rebar. The rebar pierces the beast's flesh once more. Ryujam lands a powerful punch, but the creature regenerates instantly. His eyes widen as he sees the enemy's rapid recovery. The wound on Choi Kayong's shoulder closes in seconds. Ryujam positions himself, aware that he needs a new strategy. Choi Kayong stares at him, his wounds already healed. The creature roars, showing its sharp fangs. He jumps from an elevated platform for a crushing attack. Ryujam prepares to block the aerial attack. The creature is surprised to see its blow being defended. The collision of the two creates a crater in the warehouse floor. Ryujam takes a step back after the impact. The two warriors face each other amidst the destruction. A red aura of energy surrounds Ryujam. Choi Kayong prepares for the next clash. Ryujam tightens his grip on the rebar, concentrating his power. His improvised weapon erupts in flames. The beast's eyes reflect the fire of the imminent attack. Ryujam prepares to deliver his final blow. He concentrates for the decisive attack. He announces his technique, Fireless Extinction Sword. Suddenly, a group of men and students arrive and shout, "Stop it!" The students watch the scene, shocked and frightened. One of the Team 3 men shouts to stop the fight. Si-yoon observes the arrival from inside a vehicle. Si-yoon watches, horrified by the violence of the battle. Team 3 and the others arrive at the combat location. Ignoring everyone, Choi Kayong launches into the final attack, shouting, "Die Ryujam." He jumps from the crater to charge against his opponent. The beast advances at high speed. The two fighters are about to collide in a final confrontation. Choi Kayong advances with his final technique. The creature roars amidst its attack. Ryujam unleashes his flaming blow. A massive explosion of fire engulfs Choi Kayong. The beast's eye widens inside the explosion. The creature's silhouette is thrown by the flames. The explosion is so powerful that it destroys the warehouse roof. Choi Kayong falls to his knees, covered in burns, his regeneration failing. Burned and defeated, he murmurs, "Ah, is this my defeat?" Ryujam stands over his fallen opponent and says, "No one can protect something forever." The creature's eyes show the pain of defeat. Ryujam observes the result of his final attack. Choi Kayong's body begins to revert to its human form. Already human, he makes a last request, "My daughter, teach her to protect herself." Ryujam listens to the request in silence. Choi Kayong, now a normal man, kneels, completely defeated. His face shows exhaustion and resignation. With a gentle smile, he accepts his fate. Ryujam throws away what's left of his weapon. He observes the scene, exhausted. Footsteps approach the location. A window shatters with the arrival of a new figure. Ha Jihyun enters, dragging a subordinate. "It's been a long time, Ryujam." With a sadistic smile, he taunts him, "Looks like you've become much softer." Choi Kayong roars the newcomer's name with fury, "Ha Jihyun." Ha Jihyun explains that he is there to clean up the mess on Akiyen's orders. He holds the head of one of his own men. He smiles and announces, "Both of you will have to die." Ha Jihyun prepares to act. The group that arrived to stop the fight realizes that everyone is doomed to die. With a snap, Ha Jihyun breaks his subordinate's neck. He throws the body aside indifferently. Ryujam and Choi Kayong look shocked at the cruelty of the scene. Ha Jihyun steps on the head of another fallen man. With his face stained with blood, he smiles maniacally after easily taking down Choi Kayong. Ha Jihyun stomps hard on Choi Kayong's head, who is lying on the ground. With a sadistic smile, Ha Jihyun mocks his defeated opponent. In a fit of rage, Choi Kayong gets up and lunges to attack Ha Jihyun. Choi Kayong's face contorts with anger as he prepares to strike. Ryujam, shirtless, enters the fight to help. Ryujam throws a powerful punch, but Ha Jihyun seems to absorb the impact. Ha Jihyun smiles disdainfully in the middle of the battle. One of Ryujam's blows manages to knock Ha Jihyun back. Ha Jihyun recovers quickly and stares at Choi Kayong, who is kneeling and defeated. Desolate, Choi Kayong holds the body of one of his men, killed by Ha Jihyun. Tears of despair stream down Choi Kayong's face. Ryujam observes the scene, calculating his next move. Ha Jihyun turns and gives Ryujam a provocative look. Ryujam stares back at him with a serious expression. Ha Jihyun laughs, preparing to face his new opponent. He advances against Ryujam with impressive speed. The exchange of blows between the two is so powerful that it shatters the ground. Enveloped in a red energy aura, Ryujam prepares to fight seriously. The two warriors collide in an explosion of power. Ha Jihyun's expression remains focused during the intense combat. He smiles sadistically while exchanging blows with Ryujam. The impact of their punches creates another crater in the ground. Ha Jihyun manages to block one of Ryujam's attacks. Ryujam takes a step back to gain momentum. He advances again for the attack. Ha Jihyun suddenly appears behind Ryujam and asks, "Looking for me?" Without hesitation, Ha Jihyun attacks Ryujam from behind. Ryujam turns around, surprised by the enemy's speed. A circular device shines on Ha Jihyun's chest, revealing it to be the source of his power. He prepares a devastating final blow. Choi Kayong throws himself in front of Ryujam, taking the blow in his place. The attack hits Choi Kayong's back with full force. Seriously injured, Choi Kayong kneels, using his body as a shield. Ryujam watches, shocked by his rival's sacrifice. Choi Kayong shouts for Ryujam to flee, "Go." With his last strength, Choi Kayong grabs Ha Jihyun to immobilize him. He lifts him off the ground, the effort creating a crater under his feet. Choi Kayong's face shows his final determination. In the background, a set of gas cylinders is about to explode. Ha Jihyun realizes Choi Kayong's suicidal intention and mocks, "Do you really think you can hold me?" Choi Kayong throws himself along with Ha Jihyun towards the burning cylinders. A massive explosion engulfs the two fighters. The group of observers watches the scene shocked. The students, including Si-yoon, look horrified at the explosion. Ryujam grabs one of the students and shouts for everyone to flee immediately. Taking advantage of the chaos, a delinquent harasses one of the students. The student with glasses reacts angrily to the provocation. Nearby, Dehan is lying unconscious. The student with glasses prepares to intervene. He takes off his glasses and declares, "I'm taking off my glasses," ready for the fight. The delinquent ignores the warning and continues to threaten the girl. The student explodes in fury and shouts at the aggressors. He bravely tries to confront one of the men. The henchmen react with surprise to the boy's courage, saying, "Huh." The student positions himself in front of Ryujam and the girl to protect them. Ryujam, exhausted, watches the young man's attempt. The student smiles, believing he has resolved the situation. His attempt fails, and the aggressor manages to grab the student. Ryujam intervenes and defeats the aggressors with ease to protect the young people. He shouts as he fights to end the threat. The aggressor is left on the ground, completely defeated. Ryujam carries the unconscious Dehan on his shoulders and leads the escape. The warehouse is in ruins and smoldering after the violent explosion. Choi Kayong's charred body lies amidst the rubble. Ha Jihyun gets up from the wreckage, complaining irritably, "Damn, those clothes were expensive." With a sadistic smile, he decides his next step. In his office, Okon observes the city, aware of the events. He picks up his coat, preparing to act personally. Okon smiles, confident that his plans are underway. The briefcase is opened, revealing the ampules that Cha Janil stole during the chaos. Ryujam uses his energy, emanating a red aura from his hands to heal the wounded bodies of Dehan and Team 3 leader. He releases a powerful wave of healing energy over the wounded. The energy blast covers the entire rooftop, completing the healing process. Exhausted after the effort, Ryujam sighs, relieved that it wasn't too late. While a student comforts her, Si-yoon cries in a corner, calling for her father. The student with glasses approaches Ryujam after the healing. He reacts surprised by a sudden noise. A loud bang on the door startles everyone at the scene. The students look alarmed towards the door. Okon enters the ruins, finding Ha Jihyun and a barely conscious Choi Kayong among the rubble. He approaches and stops before the defeated Choi Kayong. Choi Kayong coughs up blood and whispers Okon's name. He grabs Okon's leg and asks desperately, "Why would you do this to me? Why?" Okon looks down coldly and questions, "What kind of relationship do you think we have?" In a memory, Okon invites a young Choi Kayong to become part of his family. In the past, Choi Kayong accepts Okon's offer. The memory of the past contrasts with the betrayal of the present. Okon tells Choi Kayong that the situation is worrying because Ryujam is linked to the government. Okon expresses his concern about the consequences of Choi Kayong's betrayal. Desperate, Choi Kayong clings to Okon's leg. Okon smiles, coldly calculating his next move. In a dark place, Yununhai is tied to a chair, trembling. Unconscious and tied up, she appears to have been interrogated. Okon leans over Choi Kayong and questions him for hiding the matter of Ryujam. He approaches to interrogate the defeated man. Choi Kayong stares at him, silent and defeated. Okon walks away from Choi Kayong, ending the conversation. He gets up, deciding what to do next. In a traditional house, the president of the National Intelligence Service listens to Ryujam's report. The president takes Ryujam and the rescued students to a safe place. They arrive at a traditional house that will serve as a refuge. The president talks to Ryujam about the next steps. The president agrees to Ryujam's request that Choi Kayong's daughter be placed under his care. Siyun, Choi Kayong's daughter, is welcomed into the safe place. Siyun looks back holding her cat. The president and his aide react with surprise to Chiak Ryujam's decision. Chiak Ryujam puts on a sweatshirt and announces, "I'm going out for a while." The president's aide confronts him, asking where he is going. With a determined look, Chiak Ryujam prepares to leave. The president tries to understand Chiak Ryujam's sudden departure. Chiak Ryujam turns his back on them, determined to go his own way. Shocked, the president and his aide watch him leave. Ha Ji-hyun smiles disdainfully, planning his own machinations. Chiak Ryujam's mind turns to his destination, Mount Baekdu. The remote landscape of Mount Baekdu, the place he needs to reach. Alone, Chiak Ryujam walks through the dense forest of the mountain. He continues determined on his journey to regain his power. His gaze is focused as he approaches his goal. He advances along the mountain trail. He finally arrives at the entrance to a dark and icy cave. A mysterious blue light emanates from inside the ice cave. Chiak Ryujam cautiously enters the cave. He is shocked by the sight that awaits him inside. He comes across a figure identical to him from behind. The figure turns around, revealing itself to be a perfect replica of Chiak Ryujam. In an ice cave, a drop of water detaches from an ice pendant. The drop falls into a puddle, breaking the silence of the place. Inside the cave, Chiak Ryujam finds an exact replica of himself. He analyzes the figure, trying to understand what is happening. His copy remains motionless with its eyes closed. Chiak Ryujam approaches to check if the figure is breathing. Cautiously, he extends his fingers towards his doppelganger's nose. The double does not react to being examined. Suddenly, the copy's eyes open and Chiak Ryujam recoils, startled. The doppelganger attacks with a quick hand strike, which Chiak Ryujam barely dodges. Realizing the danger, he prepares for battle. The force of the attack throws him back, making him slide across the frozen ground. He regains his composure in a combat stance and announces his technique, Jeongdam Basic Fist. He advances, but the double blocks his punch with the palm of his hand. Chiak Ryujam is shocked to recognize his own technique, Jeongdam Basic Fist. The two collide in an explosion of energy that illuminates the entire cave. The shockwave from the explosion spreads through the forest of Mount Baekdu. Defeated, Chiak Ryujam falls to his knees and shouts, incredulously, "How can he be more proficient in my own techniques than I am?" He realizes that ice is starting to cover his hand. In a panic, he shouts, "My body is freezing." As his copy disappears, a hooded figure emerges and he questions, "What the hell are you?" The mysterious figure walks towards him. The hood falls, revealing an elderly man with a gray beard and hair. Shocked, Chiak Ryujam stutters, "This can't be, you're." He recognizes the man as the frozen warrior, his master from the past. A memory surfaces. A young Chiak Ryujam meets his future master. In the past, his mentor called himself the Nameless One and carried a colossal sword. He remembers his first encounter with the enigmatic warrior. A giant bear roars, ready to attack. With a single blow of his sword, the Nameless One decapitates the beast. The young Chiak Ryujam watches the scene, shocked and covered in blood. He holds the bear's severed paw, impressed by the man's strength. The Nameless One takes him in as his disciple. The master questions him about his name and origins. Years of rigorous training follow under the tutelage of the Nameless One. Having become an adult warrior, Chiak Ryujam looks at the horizon. He remembers the day his master left him. The Nameless One disappeared as suddenly as he appeared in his life. Only a tree stump remained at his training ground. Chiak Ryujam never expected them to meet again. Back in the present, he questions his master about his presence there. He listens attentively to his former mentor's explanation. The Nameless One explains, "It's just that my time flows slower than it does for others." Chiak Ryujam's mind tries to process the idea that his master is not human. The Nameless One turns, continuing his account. He shows his hand, which becomes translucent, explaining that his physical form is disappearing. He reveals that he heard stories about Ryujam through a burly man. The master extends his hand as he talks about destiny. He recalls a brief encounter with a man wounded by arrows. He remembers fighting alongside that man in the past. He also recalls a moment of peace with that warrior, and also having met Cho Kayong in modern times. The Nameless One questions why Ryujam is so desperate to regain his strength. Ryujam explains that he needs to face a very powerful enemy. His eyes demonstrate the urgency of his mission. He kneels before his former master. The Nameless One listens to his disciple's plea for help. Ryujam begs, "Please, help me one more time." He bows, awaiting a response. The Nameless One reflects, so it's not really over after all. He mentions a prophecy about those who carry the name of the enemy. The prophecy says that they will prevent evil from ruling the world. Ryujam raises his head, full of hope. The Nameless One extends his hand and says, "Get up, child, I still want to place my hopes on you." Elsewhere, Yununhai wakes up tied to a chair, panting. She looks around, realizing her desperate situation. Okon enters the room and announces, "I'm back." He casually takes off his jacket as he approaches her. Unhai watches him with fear and distrust. Okon smiles and reveals, "I already felt it at the airport. I sensed traces of Ryujam's energy coming from you." A memory of the airport surfaces in Unhai's mind. Okon recalls how the fear in her eyes betrayed her when she met him. Unhai remembers her encounter with Okon after the battle. She stares at him, terrified, as the complete memory returns. She recalls the overwhelming sensation of Ryujam's energy. Sweating with fear, she realizes that he manipulated her mind to obtain information. Okon's energy overwhelms her, shattering her mind into a memory. Her eyes widen in pure horror at the revelation. Okon grabs her chin tightly and demands, "Where did Ryujam go?" A subordinate enters, dragging Cho Kayong's body. The body is thrown unceremoniously on the floor at Unhai's feet. Okon squats next to the corpse and says, "The Cho Kayong you knew is dead." He places his hand on the body, initiating a forbidden technique. His eyes glow with a sinister green energy as he activates his power. He uses his ability to manipulate the essence of the corpse. Cho Kayong's face contorts in silent agony. The corpse thrashes violently on the floor. Unhai screams in terror as she witnesses the unholy reanimation. Cho Kayong's lifeless body convulses at her feet. Okon, panting, wipes away sweat and comments, "Recreating her is truly difficult." He approaches Unhai, who is paralyzed with fear. He grabs her hair from behind. He knocks her out, slamming her face into the arm of the chair. With Unhai unconscious, Okon smiles and says to himself, "I have to prepare a few things." Dehan notices the student with glasses isn't eating and asks, "What's wrong? Aren't you going to eat?" The student apologizes, "Sorry, I was too greedy, too impatient." Dehan comforts him, "It happens to everyone at least once. Come on, eat before it gets cold." Janho enters the room with a pot, surprising the others and announcing he's going to help. Later, while Dehan washes the dishes, the student watches him silently. On the balcony, the student asks Dehan, "Could you look into Yunhai's whereabouts?" Dehan readily agrees, "Of course, it's no favor." The student explodes in frustration, "What about Janil? With all this happening, why is everything so quiet? What the hell is going on?" He reflects on the powerful individuals he's encountered and what they might be plotting. Elsewhere, a group of thugs surrounds a beaten man. The group's boss, a man with greenish hair, walks with his henchmen. A news report on a cell phone shows a dating scandal involving actor Nam Sungwoon and idol Shim Harry. Actor Nam Sungwoon looks at the cell phone in panic and exclaims, "I'm so screwed." Shim Harry hugs him from behind and asks, "So, should I put my clothes back on?" While Nam Sungwoon is showering, he doesn't realize he's being watched. He senses a presence outside the shower stall. An intruder enters the bathroom. The actor turns around, surprised, as he's grabbed by one of the henchmen. He is violently thrown against the wall. The green-haired boss watches the scene, drinking wine, and threatens him. "Scream like that one more time and I'll kill you." A henchman covers the actor's mouth to silence him. Meanwhile, other henchmen immobilize Shim-Harry on the bed as she screams for them to let her go. Drugs are thrown onto a table to frame the actor. The boss grabs the actor and threatens him with a knife. He squeezes the actor's face and says, "If we say you did it, then you did it. Got it?" One of the henchmen records the whole scene with a cell phone to blackmail him. Shim-Harry is passed out on the bed. Defeated, Nam Sungwoon kneels and asks, "So, what do you want from me?" The boss smiles and reveals his demand: "Just take a break for a few months. Get out of that role you got. That spot already has an owner." In the elevator, the boss and his henchmen prepare to leave. Observing the city, the boss comments, "I'm just doing this because it's fun." One of his men notices something is wrong. The henchman warns, "Hold on, isn't someone missing?" In a corridor, a blonde henchman escorts Ha Ji-hyun, who is handcuffed. The henchman complains impatiently, "Hey, hurry up, I'm starving." Ha Ji-hyun reflects on her fate and fears being turned into a soulless puppet. She decides to fight, realizing her life is on the line. Memories of her life of submission motivate her to rebel. "I threw away my life just to survive, always walking on eggshells." Ha Ji-hyun attacks, using an illusion technique with emerald butterflies to distract her captor while shouting, "I can't accept it." The henchman is confused by the illusionary attack. She takes advantage of the distraction to strike him with her handcuffed hands. She attacks him brutally, using the handcuffs as a weapon. With a scream, she channels a green energy and launches a psychic attack against him. The henchman screams in pain from the mental attack. Exhausted, Ha Ji-hyun falls and crawls towards the henchman's cell phone. With her hands cuffed, she uses her nose to type a desperate message. The green-haired boss arrives and kicks the cell phone away from her. He insults her with contempt, "Damn, isn't she a feisty little bitch? What did you do to our boy's phone?" Lying on the ground, Ha Ji-hyun feels her strength fading. She faints, hoping her message was sent in time. Far away on the balcony, Dehan's cell phone vibrates. He picks up the cell phone and his expression changes to shock as he reads the message. On the screen, a message from an unknown number says only, "YOOYEONWOO." Dehan looks at his cell phone screen, which displays a message with only one name, YOOYEONWOO. On the balcony, he wonders who could have sent the mysterious message. Sitting on the floor, he stares at the cell phone, trying to decipher the clue. He reflects, confused about the origin and meaning of the message. Suddenly, the cell phone starts ringing. It's a call from the same unknown number that sent the message. He answers the call with apprehension. His expression becomes tense as he hears the voice on the other end. He listens attentively, with a serious face. The green-haired man on the other end of the line asks in a mocking tone, "Chiak Ryujam." Dehan, irritated, demands to know who is speaking. The malicious voice continues to speak. Dehan's expression changes to shock and anger. The kidnapper smiles sinisterly. With Yunhai chained in the background, the man threatens, "Come meet me if you want to save her. You have 1 week." He ends the call with a satisfied smile. In the following days, Dehan frantically searches the internet for Yu Yeonwoo. He writes down information about Yu Yeonwoo's personality in a notebook. Surrounded by papers, he dedicates himself entirely to the investigation. He takes a deep breath, frustrated with the lack of progress. Exhausted, he throws himself on the floor and thinks, "This doesn't seem right." He stares at the ceiling, trying to find a connection. His mind works, visualizing the shadowy figures that may be behind everything. Lying down, he continues his research on his cell phone. His expression changes when he finds an important clue. He reads a news item. Actor Nam Sung-woon was suddenly replaced by Yoo Yeon-woo in the lead role of a film. The clue leads him back to the abandoned CK Shields building. He walks down the dark corridor. Dehan heads to one of the rooms in the old office. He stops at the door to light a cigarette. He enters the dark room. Using his cell phone flashlight, he illuminates the place. He rummages through the file shelves. He is startled to notice a presence behind him. A figure emerges in the flashlight's light. It was his former team leader, who stares at him in surprise. The two sit on the floor to look for clues in the files. The team leader analyzes a document, focused. Dehan points to a clipboard in his colleague's arms. They continue the search side by side. They rummage through all the documents in search of information. The team leader kicks a hidden safe. Surprised, he looks at what he found. Dehan opens a folder found in the safe and smiles, saying, "I found it." He discovers a detailed report about actor Nam Sung-woon. Later, Dehan finds actor Nam Sung-woon, who is sitting on a bench, arms crossed. The actor looks anxious and scared. Dehan tries to convince him to talk, but the actor, in a panic, refuses. Nam Sung-woon puts his hands on his head, desperate. Dehan, now in a suit, offers Sung-woon a business card. The actor, shocked, looks at the CK Shields card. He moves away, still reluctant to trust. He sits down, tormented by the fear of blackmail. Sung-woon covers his face in agony. He remembers the moment he was forced to kneel, framed with drugs. Dehan watches him, waiting patiently. He decides to use another approach. He asks about the idol Shim Harry. The mention of her makes Dehan remember the actor swap. Dehan sits next to Sung-woon to comfort him. The actor lowers his head, defeated. A memory of the brutal attack against Shim Harry comes to Sung-woon's mind. The memory makes him burst into tears. Meanwhile, the green-haired boss checks his watch, impatient. He waits calmly in his hideout. Unhai, still chained, stares at him and asks, "Do you really expect him to come?" The boss smiles smugly. She challenges him angrily, "Just leave, stop bothering me." Her gaze is full of fury and contempt. The villain just stares at her with an amused smile. He ignores her challenge, maintaining control of the situation. The boss's cell phone rings, interrupting the confrontation. One of his henchmen calls from a surveillance room and asks, "What is it?" The henchmen watch a monitor attentively. On the screen, they see Nam Sung-woon doing a live broadcast on the Han River. The actor's fans comment on the broadcast, worried. In reality, it is Dehan who is on the phone with the real Sung-woon, instructing him as part of the plan. Dehan, now preparing, says to the actor, "I'll make sure you don't regret it." He speaks on the phone, organizing the trap. With a smile, he finalizes the preparations. The green-haired boss, finding the situation amusing, orders on the phone, "Let's visit him again." The henchman in the control room responds to the boss, relaxed. A henchman approaches the figure in the pink hoodie sitting on the bench. He smiles and asks, "What is our Sung-woon doing?" His eyes widen in surprise. The figure in the hoodie raises his head. It's not Sung-woon but Dehan. Dehan smiles and says, "Why did you take so long? I almost fell asleep." On the pier, Dehan confronts the henchman who lured him into the trap. The henchman asks disdainfully, "Who the hell are you?" pretending to be Nam Sung-woon. Dehan stares at the opponent, who has a tattoo on his neck. The henchman smiles, mocking the situation. Dehan remembers the text message with the name Yoo Yeon-woo, confirming the connection of the events. The henchman invites him to meet the boss, certain that his trap will work. He smiles confidently, underestimating Dehan. Hidden, the real actor Nam Sung-woon watches the scene on the phone, terrified. The henchman turns to attack the actor by surprise. Dehan notices the villain's intention and prepares to act. The henchman approaches, ignoring Dehan and focusing on his target. He smiles maliciously, about to attack. Nam Sung-woon, still on the phone, is paralyzed with fear as he sees the henchman approaching. The henchman advances to attack the defenseless actor. Dehan reacts instantly to protect his client. He uses the invasion step technique to move at high speed. With a powerful kick, Dehan intercepts the attack and shouts, "You're not going anywhere." The blow hits the henchman squarely. The henchman falls into the water, momentarily defeated. Dehan takes the opportunity to throw Nam Sung-woon to a safe location. He observes the place where the henchman fell, irritated by the situation. The henchman's fall stirs the water of the pier. The henchman emerges from the water, ready for a second round. Wet, he smiles and says, "You bastard." Elsewhere, Ryujam's master awaits him. The master challenges him, "Do you want power? Then you must overcome 3 trials." Ryujam listens to the proposal attentively. The first challenge is announced, the Rapids of Memory. Master and disciple position themselves before the river that will serve as the arena for the test. The master observes Ryujam, who prepares to face his past. Ryujam steps into the water, which behaves like firm ground under his feet. He walks on the surface of the river, entering the test. His expression is serious and determined. He advances through the water, step by step. The illusion of a deer watches him from the shore, a harbinger of the memories to come. He stops, feeling the presence of his past manifest. A vision of his former warrior companions appears before him. Shocked, he asks, "Guys, how did you get here?" The companions greet him with joy, as if they had never left. He stares at the familiar faces, torn between emotion and confusion. Other figures from the past appear, offering him food and comfort. His friends run towards him, recreating a happy moment. He remains still, trying to process the impossible vision. A fish swims peacefully around his feet. He allows himself a melancholic smile as he remembers his friends. He watches the illusions gather, recreating a scene from his past. His eyes widen when a special figure approaches. The woman he loved hugs him from behind, a painfully real memory. She whispers, "Welcome back, Ryujam, let's go home." He is paralyzed, his guard down before that memory. Overcome by longing, he falls to his knees in the water, embracing the illusion. The master watches his disciple succumb to the trap of memory. Submerged, Ryujam begins to understand that his attachment to the past is his true weakness. The figures of his past watch him as he drowns in his own memories. The master analyzes the situation, awaiting his student's decision. He ponders whether Ryujam will have the strength to overcome the ordeal. Kneeling in the water, Ryujam finally understands the nature of the test. He clenches his fist, gathering strength to reject the illusion. With an effort of will, he begins to rise. With a tear running down his face, he turns away from the memories and overcomes the first test. In a luxury restaurant, the night progresses. Okon and the green-haired boss finish their meal. The boss thanks him nervously. Okon eats with a disturbing calm. The boss watches him, clearly intimidated. Okon casts a cold and calculating look at his subordinate. Threatening, Okon leans over the table. He reminds him, 50 billion, that was the money your men received, don't disappoint me. A bespectacled assistant enters the room. She observes the tension in the environment with a neutral expression. The boss jumps up, startled by the veiled threat. Okon cleans his mouth, completely indifferent to his reaction. Sweating cold, the boss understands that there can be no failures. Okon maintains his satisfied and threatening smile. The boss says goodbye hastily, saying he needs to leave. He leaves the restaurant's private room. Outside, the boss calls his henchman on the pier. The henchman answers and reports what happened with Dehan. He informs, "Yes, boss, it seems I have a cute little thing following me." Lying on the ground, Dehan smiles, knowing that the fight is not over yet. He activates a booster ampule he was carrying. With a new surge of energy, he attacks the henchman from behind. The henchman is thrown violently against a wall while still talking on the phone. Still on the phone, Dehan says ironically, "That means I can go all out, right?" The green-haired boss continues his walk, oblivious to what is to come. Suddenly, a new and powerful enemy tears his own shirt. It's Akiin, revealing glowing energy circles implanted in his body. Dehan is shocked by the appearance and overwhelming power of Akiin. Akiin grabs Dehan's face with crushing force. He delivers a devastating punch, sinking his fist into Dehan's body. The energy from the implants on his shoulder glows intensely during the attack. The impact of the blow is so strong that it creates a huge crater in the concrete of the pier. In a laboratory, scientists prepare bodies for an experiment. A test subject is positioned for the procedure. The man screams in pain during the experiment. A scientist with glasses oversees everything with a satisfied smile. The technology implants glowing energy rings into the test subject's joints. A scientist announces the completion of the servojoint implantation. In the present, the fight between Dehan and Akiin is so intense that it cracks the pier floor. Akiin, the man with the implants, taunts Dehan, "What do you think, some pretty deadly skills?" Dehan struggles to stay on his feet after the attack. Akiin's technology makes him an indestructible body, blocking Dehan's blow. Akiin smiles superiorly as his body nullifies the attack. In a flashback, Dehan and his former team leader tidy up a messy office. The team leader finds a hidden button. They are surprised to open a secret compartment. Inside, they find an old martial arts manual, the Beast Blood Battle Collection. Back at the pier, the battle continues with a powerful kick from Akiin. Akiin's implants glow as he prepares to attack again. Dehan remembers the manual they found. He uses the techniques from the Beast Blood Battle Collection to fight. Elsewhere, Ryujam is transported to a mysterious location for his second trial. His master appears and guides him to the next challenge. Ryujam is launched into a water portal. He emerges into a new world with floating islands. The master watches his disciple begin the test. He prepares to face the dangers to come. A horde of dark beasts materializes before him. The master gives Ryujam a sword for the challenge. Ryujam's hand freezes momentarily upon touching the weapon. The master watches him, assessing his readiness. Ryujam advances to face the trial. He prepares for battle. The pack of dark beasts advances to attack him. He wields the sword, ready for the fight. Ryujam attacks the creatures with the sword. At the pier, Dehan and Akiin exchange violent blows. Akiin delivers a powerful punch to Dehan's stomach. The energy rings on Akiin's body glow intensely. Akiin attacks with an energized punch. The two face each other at high speed. They exchange a sequence of consecutive blows. Dehan analyzes the fight and notices an opening in Akiin's strategy. Akiin continues to attack with powerful kicks. Dehan is exhausted but continues to resist. Akiin smiles, confident that victory is near. He prepares for the final blow. Akiin smiles sadistically. He taunts him, "I'll give you one last chance, so come." Dehan advances for his last attack. Akiin prepares to counterattack and declares, "Checkmate." Akiin jumps to deliver a crushing blow. He is surprised to see that Dehan has disappeared. Dehan appears behind him and covers his eye. He whispers the name of the technique, mountain-shattering blood strike. Dehan lands a devastating blow on the back of Akiin's neck. Even injured, Akiin laughs, confident in his regeneration. "You think I'll lose with just this blow?" Dehan reveals his strategy. That technology is useless if you lose your balance, right? He grabs Akiin to throw him into the water. The two fall off the pier, plunging into the darkness. Submerged, Dehan keeps his opponent immobilized. He smiles, determined to win the underwater endurance battle. In a luxury house, Yu Yonwoo's henchmen wait. One of them complains, "I told you, why is Yangxiang so late?" The blonde henchman seems worried about the delay. Meanwhile, in a dark basement, Yoon Eun-hye is tied to a chair. She hears a voice and looks towards the door. Her expression changes to shock as she recognizes the voice. A man in a black shirt is at the door of the captivity. He smiles and says, "Let's get out of here, I'm here to save you." In his trial, Ryujam spent the equivalent of a year fighting hordes of beasts instinctively. He endured constant combat, covering himself with the blood of his enemies to survive. His body was torn and healed repeatedly, growing stronger with each battle. Finally, he stood victorious, having completely mastered the nightmare realm. He became the primeval king of that place, standing atop a mountain of carcasses. Sensing the newfound power flowing through him, he examined his bloodied hand. He clenched his fist, feeling ready for the next step. Ryujam raised his hand to the sky, signaling the end of his training. He declared loudly, "Now please assess my vessel." With the trial complete, he began to be pulled out of that dimension. He fell from a sky with floating islands. His fall carried him towards a deep lake below. The alien landscape gave way to freefall. He was about to plunge into the lake that marked the start of his final trial. He plunged into the cold water. Submerged, he awaited the last challenge. The final trial manifested. The overcoming of his trials was complete. He was finally free to return. Meanwhile, a man entered a dark basement. He approached Yoon Eun-hye, who was tied to a chair. The man was the savior she had been waiting for. He prepared to free her. The savior quickly cut Eun-hye's bonds. He helped her up and said, "For now, let's get out of here." However, the exit was blocked by the green-haired boss, who grinned and asked, "Leaving?" The savior pushed Eun-hye behind him to protect her. He braced himself for the inevitable confrontation. The two escapees faced the boss and his henchmen. The boss gestured dismissively, saying, "Go on, if you can get past there." His gaze was one of pure mockery. The corridor filled with henchmen, blocking any hope of an easy escape. The savior put Eun-hye safely behind him, determined, "I have no choice but to make a path." He prepared to fight everyone. The fight began, desperate and against all odds. The students, led by Park Minguk, arrived as a surprise to help. The savior, exhausted and outnumbered, was knocked down. Eun-hye and the boss watched the turn of events. A henchman prepared to deliver the final blow to the fallen savior. Exhausted, the savior could barely breathe. The students attacked in unison, using the martial arts they had learned. Minguk shouted, "We should at least even the numbers." The savior recomposed himself and helped one of the students. The youths fought with a desperate fury. They faced the henchmen with the techniques their master had taught them. Their training was put to the test in real combat. One of the henchmen was caught off guard by the student's skill. A student remembered his training. He recalled the lessons of his instructor. His master's words echoed in his mind. His mentor's serious countenance gave him strength. He remembered the demonstrations of power and technique. The student channeled the teachings into the fight. Back in the present, Minguk realized that their strength was at its limit. He decided it was time to use his secret weapon. Supported by the savior, he prepared himself. Minguk prepared his final technique. A henchman advanced, annoyed. Minguk shouted final technique and used pepper spray. Taking advantage of the confusion, the group ran for the exit. The henchmen were incapacitated, screaming in pain. They tried to escape as chaos ensued. The boss, furious, intercepted the escape easily. He knocked down the entire group with a single move. Fallen on the ground, they had nowhere left to run. The henchmen recovered and surrounded them. A henchman shouted, ready to finish them off. The subordinates prepared to attack. Finding his men pathetic, the boss attacked them. He crushed them with ease. The boss prepared for a devastating attack. He declared, "I guess I'll kill everyone, for the sin of disturbing my peace." His own men looked at him in terror. The boss attacked his own subordinates with full force. The savior fallen looked shocked at the brutality. The boss stepped on one of his fallen henchmen. He smashed his subordinate against the wall without mercy. With a sadistic smile, the boss turned to the group of escapees. The survivors looked up, awaiting the end. Unhigh braced for the impact. The boss leaped into the air, enveloped in a golden aura. He shouted, "Die together." He punched the ground with all his might. An explosive shockwave swept through the building. Amidst the dust, the boss looked up, surprised. The group on the ground was shielded and unharmed. A calm voice emerged from the smoke. "Fortunately, I wasn't too late." A hand appeared from the rubble. Ryujam emerged, fully recovered. He cracked his knuckles and said, "You guys held up well, I'll finish this quickly."